Thursday evening overdose.
Give you live now.
Well, it's now.
Now it is.
It is July 2nd, 2015, and welcome to the Overdose.
Hello.
I am your host, Vincent P. Micco. With me, as always, is my trusty sidekick, my sister Andrea.
Nice to be here.
Also with us tonight, David Sexy Ass Box.
Yeah, Skippy.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
What is cooking? Good looking.
Don't mind. Oh, I dropped something. Don't mind if I bend over to get it.
I would get a boner. A little on the nose. So, what has been going on in the world?
Who
Who cares, Andrea? Let's talk about what the world is actually made of. Let's talk about reality a little bit.
All right.
I don't get it.
No.
Depending on what I watch on YouTube for periods of 14 hours at a time, I might think the world is round, solid, hollow, even flat. Thank you.
The Earth isn't flat.
That's what I thought until I started poking around a little bit. You know, it's like I said, it's hard to really flush out, every little thing. It would take, all right, let's just set a number. How about 100 hours? I'd say it would take 100 hours to sort of flush out any of these weird controversial topics on average, right?
Okay.
Flush them out, meaning like debunk them?
Or just figure out what the fuck is really going on or what you really think about it, So, I'm saying I haven't had that much time yet on this, but there are some really weird questions and some cool shit. A lot of these guys will talk about lighthouses and ships, right?
Okay.
That classically can be seen from very long distances away, and they'll do a calculation that says, well, if the Earth is curved the way that it's supposed to be, I should not be able to see, say, the New York skyline or this particular lighthouse or that ship way out there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they'll point to this and they'll go, look, by direct line of sight, this is impossible, which is actually true, kind of. But then we found out about atmospheric refraction, and that's how they explain.
Yeah, that's how they explain through incredibly complicated physics. Exactly.
Fuck, my mic was way too loud. Sorry about that.
Oh.
All right, we're better now.
But they explain it through complicated physics that depends on the things that they've already explained through complicated physics.
So basically the idea is that a light ray bends down because it's affected by gravity over time, right?
Yeah, it has to do with air density and when a light ray is moving almost perfectly horizontally, it's affected by...
So the effect is that you can see a little bit around a curve.
Right.
When the atmospheric conditions are right.
Right. Because the curvature of the Earth cancels out the light, the curvature and the refraction cancel each other out, and it makes things appear more flat.
Right,
It just creates a weird optical illusion.
Well, because there was that famous experiment many years ago, because while this was still up for debate in mainstream science, some people said, well, let's go out and do some basic measurements and experiments to see if the Earth is flat or curved once and for all.
Yeah.
So this guy does an experiment called the Bedford level experiment.
Yes.
Which is on this really exceptionally level, straight section of a canal, right?
Right.
And it's about 6 miles where it's indisputably perfectly level, yeah?
Right.
So he does an experiment where he does some measurements and puts a little telescope right above the water and has a boat row away past different landmarks that they've measured too. Mm-hmm. And he claims that he can see the boat for 6 miles.
Right.
Which
you shouldn't be able to.
Right. So for a lot of people that meant that the Earth was flat. That was something that people would point to. And actually, some of these YouTube guys still refer to this experiment as evidence. So what happened then? It was later recreated, and nobody's ever been able to recreate the results, right?
Yeah, the more current results indicate that the Earth would be curved. But that has to do with, again, the refraction happens in certain atmospheric conditions. It's not based on the physical conditions of the time, but more of like the air pressure, which seems weird because you wouldn't think that stuff can affect light like that, but it has to do with the way it bends when it gets closer to or further from the surface of the Earth based on air density. So if people were recreating these on a warmer day, the light could be doing something different.
That's interesting.
And and the guy the second time they did the experiment, a guy who actually knew what he was doing. Let's see. It says the crucial step was to set a sight line 13 feet above the water, thereby avoiding the effects of atmospheric refraction.
There you go.
So a lot of this stuff can be explained, but when you go down the flat Earth path, it does lead to some really fucking interesting shit, as any of this stuff does.
Okay, like what?
Well, first of all, they'll rely heavily on convincing you that everything you know about space has been faked. So you'll call into question the credibility of NASA and things like that.
Okay.
Which is, I don't mind doing. They were, they'll point to, okay, it was a shitload of Nazis, scientists, 1,500 or so came over and
Yes.
what was known as Project Paperclip.
Yeah.
After World War II. We all know about that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll then say, a certain percentage of them ended up working on NASA, which is no surprise because they were recruiting guys who worked on like missile technology and shit like this.
Over a third of them went on to work at NASA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
over
okay,
500.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they're guys that work on propulsion and this and that anyways, and they're going to go work on rockets for the U.S. now. So they point to that as NASA was largely Nazi when it was started, which would be like a good group of people who have been compromised, who have been maybe offered amnesty in return for silence, and gone, hey, we need you in on this major fucking hoax of sorts.
Right.
This is their thing. I don't know. A lot of it's pretty convincing. Some of the shit that they show about the International Space Station right now, because everybody has seen the moon landing hoax shit. Right,
right.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen the clips of the flag that like waves in the breeze. Is pretty weird. Right, all this stuff.
There's a lot of weird stuff.
There's a lot of weird shit. For instance, the micrometeorites is one thing they talk about, and according to like some science, there's these tiny meteorites just smashing down at like the speed of a bullet all the time.
Just everywhere.
Yeah, and there's like no evidence of it on any of the equipment and shit like this, just on and on and on. Some of it's more compelling than others. But so they call, the lost 700 boxes of footage, supposedly, that just disappeared. There's all kinds of shit like this. I should just also mention the Van Allen radiation belt. They'll say that. They'll say humans can't pass through the Van Allen radiation belt.
So lots of things that would indicate maybe things aren't what we've been told.
Yeah.
In terms of that. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because how do you explain like global positioning systems and stuff like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to take this in, but it's a lot that needs explaining.
Yeah. I don't really believe it, but it just leads to interesting places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fucking ISS faked footage. Like a lot of that shit doesn't look real. A lot of the astronauts on the International Space Station, there's just certain movements that aren't accounted for and don't look right, and there is stuff that looks like they're being like suspended by harnesses or in front of blue screens and shit. When they're supposed to be in zero gravity. Right, that stuff was pretty fucking convincing.
Yeah, a video we watched earlier pointed out that even like the physics of some of those alleged space station videos don't make sense for being in space. Like one of the ones where they were allegedly on harnesses, like the guy moved backwards through the cabin and then like put his feet on something to stop, and his top half didn't keep going. And they had like a little animation that diagrammed why that would be impossible to do in space. So
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, there's things like that, and there's also like motions where they just start going forward without any noticeable or perceivable method of like pushing off of anything or even
Right.
hitting the floor. They'll
You
just
can't
start,
just like
they'll
pose
just start
in
floating
zero
forward
gravity.
like ghosts. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of weird stuff going on up there, and they're proposing that, hey, some of it's shot in a zero-gravity airplane, some of the
Right.
prolonged scenes of people floating around and shit, but then, a lot of it can just be done in a studio really easily, which is
Yeah.
true. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely not impossible.
Especially when you consider that the technology that the government has is however many years ahead. They could potentially be using anti-gravity rooms and stuff to make these simulations and shit.
That's the other thing. We're supposed to believe that like the only reason people haven't done further space exploration is because of the money. That also doesn't quite add up to me. So it's been at this point almost 50 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like since the first one, and really we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything else. Does that sit right with any other part of human progress whatsoever?
No.
That we just stop and go, let's just kind of fuck around with machines for the
Yeah.
next 50 years.
Let's look at artificial intelligence.
Everything else is so much further away, though. Like the moon versus Mars, it's an astronomical difference.
Well, okay, but that's another thing they'll talk about is what is the likelihood that the moon and the sun could appear to be exactly the same size so much of the time when they're such drastically different sizes and supposedly so much. Well, the sun is 93 million miles away. Mm-hmm. And what is the moon?
I said yes to that.
I've just heard that
know.
a few times over the past few days, so
I
I know
have no
about
idea
it.
how far away it is.
The sun's 930 million or 93 million miles away, and the moon is like 30,000 or something.
238,000.
Oh, okay,
miles.
whatever. Yeah, so
pretty close.
But then just because of the exact right, proportions, like that, you know what I mean? How likely is that? That's just another weird thing. Not to mention that the moon is fucking weird in the first place.
Totally. I was
Now,
just gonna say.
One time, the original co-host of this show came over, and we were standing in the front yard, and he goes, "I want to ask you about the moon." And I said, "What?" And I was kind of annoyed. He's always asking, how he was. He always had some weird fucking idea. Mm-hmm. I'm like, "What about the fucking moon?" He's like, "Listen, you be the Earth, and you just turn like they say the Earth turns, okay?" And so I turn, and he goes, "Now I'm going to be the moon." And he faces me, and he puts his hands up like jazz hands to kind of accentuate that he's facing me, and he sidesteps around me, never changing, never changing the direction that he faced. And he's like, "What am I doing?" And immediately I was like, "You're watching me." You're watching me. That's precisely what that is. And ever since then, I have wondered about the moon. It doesn't fucking seem right. You know what else? The fucking things that landed on the moon, there's pictures, of course, of the moon lander, and there's no perceivable impact in the dust anywhere. There's no disruption in what should be a foot of fucking dust where they landed.
Right.
There's a lot of shit about the fucking moon.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit about the fucking moon. I hate how the same side of it faces us all the time.
What is that?
There's a name for
So
it.
it's
And people
it's-
try to argue about that with me too. They'll be like, "No, it has the dark side and the light side, but it turns, and sometimes you just can't see the other side because it's dark." And I'm like,
No.
Look at the fucking markings on
It's
it.
just
That's-
always
no.
dark no matter
always
which
the
way it's
same.
facing.
I forget.
When it turns towards you, you can't see any of it because it's the dark side facing you.
That's ridiculous. But I think it's called orbit lock or something like that, and that's what actually creates the tides on the planet. So that
Ridiculous.
that quality that the moon has is essential to life on Earth,
Right.
as well as many other
Allegedly.
key
Yeah, but-
things that the moon has about it, like its mass and everything. If its mass was too much different, it would fuck up life on Earth very much as well.
Doesn't it just make you suspicious?
Well, totally, yeah, but it's not just that it's looking at us. It's the moon has so many qualities about it that are so particular and strange that it's almost as if it's up there, like someone put it there to be, the sustainer of life.
Yeah, when I see stuff like this, I never think ooh, evidence of a higher power.
Evidence of reptilians.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, this is like evidence of some other fucking species that's
evidence of a holograph.
Yeah, the
So what-
moon seems to be like it's an engineered thing rather
Yes.
than, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
everything
and that
about
would
it.
make sense that they would engineer it to appear similar to the thing that already appears in the sky, too. You
It's
know?
just another thing in the sky to the stupid monkeys.
Yeah, we stupid monkeys.
We monkeys.
The other thing that was pretty fucked up about these flat Earth videos that I really the stuff that I took away from it is like, okay, a lot of the space stuff seems like it's been faked. You know, I knew that already, but I really looked into it over the past couple days, and I'm an idiot, okay? So maybe it's just all shit that can be explained, you know?
Right.
But then I start thinking, I'm like, hey, this doesn't fucking look right. This fucking lady, there's this lady scientist on the International Space Station whose hair is always in the same fucking position, and if you look at video of the zero-gravity airplanes, and you look at women like moving around and stuff, their hair like floats around like they're underwater all over.
Yeah.
And this lady on the space station, her hair is always, she looks like that fucking guy in Ancient Aliens. It's just always just standing
it's
straight up,
gelled up.
and it like snaps back and forth into place. It's, you know, almost as though she weren't actually in zero gravity.
Yeah.
But the other thing,
How do you know how hair behaves in zero gravity?
because I just looked up all the other videos of like the zero gravity planes to see what it looked like. So the other thing though that I really took away from this was, and this can probably be explained, but tell me about this. Why does light reflect in different directions when it comes through the clouds? Like when you see sun rays, it's going in like, you know, 50 degrees differences, you know, of rays from one end to the other. You know what I'm saying? From the way they're pointing. So if the sun was 93 million miles away, it would seem that it would that we'd get more parallel rays. But can that be explained by just like the light hitting the atmosphere and being refracted through different directions? You know, like
Yeah.
I think it could be.
I think it's based on the shape of the cloud, not the direction in which the light enters the atmosphere.
Here, just look this up, see if you can
It's the
find
way
a
it's
quick
filtered through
explanation.
the cloud, I think. Okay.
But what else did you see about Operation Paperclip? Anything worth noting?
No, we covered the major stuff. They ended up bringing in over 1,800 in total.
So
ex-Nazi,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
ex-Nazi scientists.
Yeah.
And they were allegedly screened really extensively before coming in the country, but then a bunch of them were found out that they had committed Nazi war crimes and were extradited.
crimes?
Worm crimes, yeah.
Worm
they were
crimes.
really wormy. But then they were sent back to Germany.
Yeah, we owe
bunch of
our the like race to space with Russia. We owe our victory to that, to the German scientists, and a lot of the
Yeah.
shit that we have today is not, you know, the American mind.
So
shit.
here's the other thing. In the flat Earth model, similar to the hollow Earth model, Antarctica is off limits. It's a big secret, similar to reality,
Right.
because it's not an easy place to visit. Not just because of the terrain. Like people have a really hard time getting permission to go down there to do exploration as private companies and shit like this. You know.
Yeah. You can take a cruise that goes around the coast of it, but you can't really get up in there.
So in the flat Earth model, you've got the plate of the Earth, okay? The oceans and the continents and whatever are all relatively the same as if you peeled a globe up from the bottom and just laid it out, you know? But in their model, it's ice all the way around the edge, which is Antarctica. But according to our perception of like north and south, we'll go south till we get to that point, but nobody's ever crossed far enough into Antarctica straight to get to the edge of this ice, according to the flat Earth people.
I have some questions. Is the plate that we live on, is it rectangular or is it circular?
It's circular.
Okay.
Although
And-
these guys don't really claim to know everything either. They're just
Well,
like, you know.
Is the idea
diagram I saw is that it's circular, and then in the very center of the circle is the North Pole. And if you can imagine the land arranged
Sure.
around in that orientation, and then around the very edge is Antarctica.
That's really interesting.
That's
so
what-
it's
all right.
like it's
So-
like we have a magnet in the center. And
Yes.
Yeah.
And north, it just draws us to the middle
Yeah,
instead of.
And then also
Up.
part of this too is that the sun rotates; it orbits the top of the disk. It orbits around.
Yeah,
us.
you'd
We don't
picture the
orbit
sun and the
around it.
moon just like floating around in a
Like-
circle on top
like
of us,
this.
basically. I don't know how that works, but so
It's a lot
I
of
saw an
stuff.
animation.
But
Yeah,
either way,
that's-
whatever Earth model, Antarctica is always off limits.
Right.
And it is interesting that it's the only place that's not been contested for ownership by any country. It's like there's the rest of the world is just wars for thousands and thousands of years over land. But Antarctica, there's just magically a treaty, and everybody's cool. And it was in 59, the Antarctic Treaty. I got something on this, but it's the only place where just like all the major countries just went, yeah, fine. We'll all agree that we kind of stay away from this place.
Yeah.
Are there native people to that place, or is
No.
it just
No,
wildlife?
it's uninhabitable.
It's uninhabitable.
Yeah, you can't go there really, but it's
The only thing that you can get there is core samples about
Yeah.
to learn about
All they have
the
is
ancient
ice.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's land
Let's see.
underneath there, isn't there?
There is, yeah, but the ice shelf is so thick that the land is. It's so sick.
It's so sick.
The land is. It may as well be inaccessible.
Yeah.
If
Now
all
hold
the-
on a second. The What are you looking at?
I was looking at your screen.
Antarctic. Let's see. The Antarctic Treaty, regulates international relations with respect to Antarctica, Earth's only continent without a native human population. For the purpose of the treaty system, Antarctica is defined as all of the land and ice. Blah 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 blah. The treaty was the first arms control agreement established during the Cold War. So I guess they're worried about supposedly. They're worried about, somebody setting up a base on Antarctica to fire fucking missiles from or whatever they're going to try to tell us.
So they can fire, because from there they can fire them at anywhere on that half of the world.
I guess, but immediately what it made me think of is the Thule Society, which,
We've talked
helped
about
bring the
before.
Nazis into power, was really, really interested in Antarctica. And I found that out by studying the Hollow Earth, but then
Right.
you check up on it and it's true. And they had expeditions down there, and there was a lot of evidence that the Nazis were working on a underground Antarctic base and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So you got them, and they're interested in Antarctica, and then they go start NASA. I don't know. It's just a bunch of weird connections.
Yeah, definitely.
And in the hollow Earth theory, Antarctica is where you enter the inside of the Earth.
Sure.
Is that
Or
right?
the North Pole.
Or the North Pole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like those are the openings.
Okay.
So it would make sense that if that was actually there, everybody would want to protect it. Although, I don't know. I think I'm actually more on board with Flat Earth than Hollow Earth at this point. Although I do have a couple things that I want to talk about with you with Flat Earth. If we
Yeah.
could. Okay, so
One last point before you go into like the debunking thing. I just wanted to make the point before long that it's not weird to think that we wouldn't have any fucking realistic perception of the way that the world behaves or looks. Because I just thought of that Peterson Mercator dealie. There's a Peterson projection maps, and the Mercator, is it said Mercator or whatever, is the one that we've seen typically for many, many years, our whole life and whatever.
right.
The the typical globe, which by the way, it says right on there is a toy. It's not for actual navigation purposes, but the Mercator is basically the like a bunch of the land masses are elongated or made smaller for sea navigation and things like that,
Right.
And so that the longitude lines work out better or whatever, latitudes, and the Peterson is the more accurate of the two. So if you really see a map of what the world really looks like, it'll freak you out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what the fuck is this place?
Well, I remember
So,
the first time I saw the right
not-
size of Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always
Or,
misrepresented.
What is it? Greenland.
Yeah, Greenland too, for sure.
Yeah. Greenland
So-
is like the same size as Africa on a map, but then 1/14 the size of it in real life. So it'll kind of freak you out when you see like the way the real world really actually looks and the size of things. So to me, it's not too much of a leap to go, we could have been completely deceived for the past couple hundred years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely. And
there's not
And-
that many pictures of the Earth on the whole, is there?
well, there are and there aren't. Now, if we're going to say that NASA is
I don't trust NASA for even outside of this conversation. We never trust NASA. How many times have they been caught removing images after people point out discrepancies and shit? you know? Like,
that's true. But if we just say that nothing they do is true, then most of our pictures of Earth from a distance are going to be taken out of the equation. Also, photo manipulation is always an option, no matter what the picture is of.
Oh, there's one of the most commonly used pictures of the Earth. You guys can look this up. There's one of the most commonly used pictures of the Earth. It's a NASA picture that has like very easy to spot photoshopping in the clouds, where they've clearly just taken and copied parts of the clouds over to another section, and it's precisely the same exact cloud formation. You'll find that if you just do a Google search. What did you search for?
Fake Earth picture.
No.
I was I'm curious about you when you go up in a plane or get real high in a skyscraper.
Cloud photo cropping or something like that. Flat Earth cloud Photoshop. You know, Jesus.
You can like see the
Fake
curvature
Earth
of the
picture.
Earth when even when you're just standing at the shores of the ocean, you can see a curve in the Earth. What would a flat Earth person say about that?
I don't know, David Box. I just wanted to get this out there, just in case.
Well, it's interesting, and also I wanted to say that effect we were talking about, where you can see sort of around the horizon because of the way the light bends, that is being developed, and they're making cameras now that can see around corners.
Yes.
And they like reproduce an image from the light particles that it sees passing by perpendicular
Is
to
that
it.
how that works? Okay.
Something like that, and then it can.
I was trying to
put
picture
together
that earlier. And
yeah, and it just like recreates a 3D image of what it thinks it sees over there. And right now they're using mannequins and stuff, and it just makes blobs that look somewhat like the stance of a mannequin.
Oh, okay.
And but you know it's there, so you know
Wow.
that kind of shit's real.
Yeah, I don't know what you got there. I can't really see that, but
I think that's the one you're talking about. You
Yeah,
can see
there's
they
all
kinda
kinds of
copy
shit.
and pasted the clouds.
yeah, if you close up on it, you can clearly see there's just just sections that are like really, really easy to tell, just copies
together,
Yeah,
yeah.
Interesting.
So whatever.
So just to go back to our the issue about the clouds and the sun coming through at different angles through the clouds.
Yeah.
It's caused by diffraction, which is when a standard wave passes through any gap, it diffracts on the other side, causing the wave to arc. Causes the spread of light, which is why the rays broaden after passing through gaps in the cloud, and it appears to be coming in at different angles, but if you were standing under the ray of light, you would see the direct source coming through the clouds. So it's about the clouds, not about the angle of the sun.
Okay.
Interesting. It's so weird.
That makes
how-
sense. I knew there would be
Yeah.
an explanation for that one, but it's just fun to get stoned and be like, oh
Yeah.
my god, the sun's right on the other side of the cloud.
Jesus Christ, so close.
Why else would it be doing that? Okay, so there are a few things that maybe suggest that the world isn't flat. Starting with the fact that in different parts of the world, you can see different constellations.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, but did you see any of the fucking time lapse video when they focus like a camera on Polaris, and which is like supposedly the star that we're pointed at, you know? And meanwhile, our sun is traveling at 600,000 miles an hour and dragging us with it through the universe, but it's all staying relatively the same to the constellations for some reason and stars. Mm-hmm. But if you take a video of like a prolonged period of stars, you'll end up or just sort of like one of those things where you leave the shutter open, you know, and it just tracks a path. You'll end up with a giant fucking swirl, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So
It's
to
a
me,
motion blur
right?
effect.
But
yeah.
it's like a pretty tight swirl that you'll see, you know. So it almost kind of looks like the flat Earth model works when they do that, because it's like, well, we are just spinning in one place and still facing the same fucking sky all the time.
Yeah,
Right.
but the part of the galaxy that we're in is moving with us, so you have to remember that the stars and shit that we see are sticking with us relatively. You know
No, I know
what
that's
mean?
what they say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the idea.
right.
I can't pull any numbers or anything out to argue that, but
Yeah. Yeah, but some of they'll also make the math work. Like they have a different proposition for how far away the sun is and what size it is, and they'll make the math work on all this stuff the same way, you know, shit like
Yeah.
that. But
I think before our model of the solar system was made up, there were other models that worked mathematically.
sure.
I'm forgetting the guy's name. I don't know if it was Copernicus, but he
Copernicus
hypothesized-
was the first like heliocentric.
Yeah. Yeah.
guy.
And then he had a competitor or something like that who
Well,
thought
no,
all planets were
Eratosthenes.
Oh yeah.
Eratosthenes.
Eratosthenes.
He's the
That
one.
bastard.
He calculated the circumference of the Earth. So that's how his idea was that it was round and he could calculate how big it was.
Okay.
Is he the first guy to think that the Earth was round? Is that who you're talking
I think
about?
I don't know if he was the first one to think it, but he was the first one to provide a mathematical equation that supported that idea. Okay, now if you stick a stick in the ground, it produces a shadow. Shadow moves as time passes.
I've seen this. Yeah.
And if the world was flat, then two sticks in different locations would produce the same shadow. But they don't because the Earth is round and not flat.
I don't think I buy that. It would still depend on the position of the sun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is not okay. A lot of this stuff I've read the debunking on it, and it's not very convincing. For one thing, they go into these videos a lot about all the different space hoaxes that there have been, and a bunch of people will claim the Challenger blowing up there was actually nobody on it. It was all a big fucking scam, whatever. And a lot of this stuff is to bury fucking billions of dollars too. You know,
Right.
To spend a lot less than they say they are on these projects, and then it goes to whatever covert
Yeah.
ops and shit. So
Secret anti-gravity rooms.
they go. So there's this pretty convincing lineup that they'll do of the Challenger crew, and they'll go. They're all alive today. Here's pictures of all of them with their new pseudonyms and blah blah blah. And two of them conveniently had identical brothers. But whatever. It's just a weird story. So I look on Snopes. I'm like, surely Snopes has done away with this, and their explanation just relies completely on the official story. Like they didn't do any actual. They debunked it, quote unquote, but they just go, well, come on, it's what they say it is. These aren't the same people, So it would just be like, they act like it would be impossible in a giant conspiracy to create new fucking personalities and records for people.
Right.
So whatever, there's
They're
a lot
just NASA. They can't produce papers for people.
there's a lot of this stuff that has not been debunked to my satisfaction.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you seen that shit with the Challenger?
I've seen some of it.
The Challenger crew? It's pretty fucking convincing, dude. It looks like the same fucking people.
Yeah.
It really does. You guys should look into that.
Well, I have a problem where I I have a hard time recognizing same people's faces if they have worn glasses or did their makeup differently.
Yeah,
or
I'm terrible at that shit.
yeah, I don't know
this
what
is
it
good.
is.
You guys would like this. Just check it out sometime.
So I'm always extra skeptical about that because I think maybe I'm just being duped because I'm not good at differentiating. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to talk about more physics about the flat Earth.
Yeah, just tell me the world is not flat. Go ahead.
Okay, what about when you are standing on a really tall thing and you can see further into the distance because...
That's just because you're over the trees and shit, buildings. Got all that shit out of the way. Cactuses.
What about...
Cacti.
Get all those cactuses out of the way. What about like in the mountains overlooking a desert, though? You can absolutely see further than you can on the ground.
I don't know. Can you?
I feel like I perceive
Yeah, I feel like
that
you
I
can. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't.
And
I don't
also,
know.
if the Earth is flat, then why can't you just see all the way?
Well, there's going to be a vanishing point at some point. You're not going to be able to just see forever.
Yeah.
There's limitations to
moisture
the human
in the
eye.
air and
yeah,
stuff
right.
like that.
There's certain things that degrade the light particles and whatever. So.
Okay, and I also propose to you, why, when a large ship emerges over the horizon, does it not materialize out of nothing, but seems to rise up?
Maybe the world is round.
Is that all it took?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, and the sun too. When the sun rises, I mean, it's coming up over something, so it would have to be coming up from underneath the plate.
that's how you perceive it. But I saw a guy who made a video who said, now forget what you know about up and down, and honestly just look at this as though you just woke up today, and even just take a second and pretend you are on a flat earth. Just perceive it that way for a second. And when I did that and I looked at a video of like a whole day of sun, it does also look like it's just flying past. From a different perspective.
Yeah.
It really does. We know up and down, and we're so oriented with this spherical, reality of our planet and stuff, and the sun and the way that things rotate, that we just assume that movement represents a 360 rotation. But
How could
look at it another way, it doesn't have to. And the moon is watching us.
how can we explain gravity on a flat Earth? How can we explain the what's
Okay.
pulling us, what's keeping us here?
Ultimately, I think most of these guys are religious, the flat earth people.
Okay.
And I think they kind of just go, well, this is just a magic place that God made. So
That's
Yeah.
so we just go, like, everything just kind of settles according to density, and that's how it works. And
Yeah.
it's up and down, and that's it. And it is another one, though, that's like a ton of ancient cultures have weirdly consistent portrayals of the Earth in their early, like, renditions and stuff, and a lot of them portray it as this same, like, flat thing with a dome casing. There's a shitload of cultures that talk about, like, a steel sky. You've probably heard of this before.
Yeah.
And there's like you're trapped in here. It's a steel cage, basically. Several different cultures from, I think, the Incans and Chinese, I think, was the weird ones. China and the Incas both thought that the Earth was a flat plane resting on the back of a giant tortoise, with like a fucking bird cage over it of steel.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when you put it that way, I
Sure,
don't really see how I can argue.
I think it was like Northern Europe, from like Germany on upwards. They always had myths about the sky falling if people did things wrong and stuff, and like
Yeah.
this idea that the sky was like a solid. So whatever, it's just another thing that's been an instinct that people have had in
Right.
early culture. Same as the Hollow Earth, though. You can find
Yeah.
the same fucking 20 different examples for the Hollow Earth of legends and shit. So
Yeah. Okay, so do you think if the Earth is flat,
yeah,
is it spinning or would the
Nah,
sun
it's
just be
just
spinning?
still.
It's still?
the sun's just flying around in a circle right
Okay.
over it.
And the stars too.
We have no idea what the stars are.
How do we explain the other planets in the solar system? Do we just say, well, everyone has lied about the way those are shaped and how their physics work just to cover up the fact that the Earth is shaped this way? Or,
Fuck, I don't know that one.
yeah.
Maybe there are no other planets.
Yeah, maybe, like, are they all made up? That's what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
how far back does the space conspiracy go?
Right. No, and that's the thing is, yeah,
do
because
we
like
only
most
think
of what we knew about space came from just normal people who dedicated their lives to research, and they didn't fucking. It's not like for most of human history there weren't these great like jobs in laboratories where you could have a nice car and a house. It's like most of the time people who did it either by necessity or as part of the culture or what, you know what I mean? So it's like it's not as though it's been that long that NASA's been in control of what we know about.
Right.
Well, they have always been in control of what we've known about the way that the Earth looks from space.
That's true.
They have always been in control when it comes to what we know about what you need to build to take to space and what it's like out there. Hey, what about this? There was an astronaut recently that had like some emergency on the space station because they were out there and their like water system broke supposedly, and their helmet filled with water and they almost drowned. Do you hear about that?
No, I'm trying to look it up right now.
I just thought about, a lot of the people will claim, hey, this stuff is filmed underwater, and that's how they get that weightlessness.
That would be crazy.
The space scenes.
yeah.
You never heard about this? That's a major theory that they film all the space scenes underwater.
And that guy's suit
I saw
mysteriously
that
filled with
in
water.
the news. An astronaut almost drowned in his space helmet. I was like, wait a second.
That's pretty
Pretty
damning.
crazy. Yeah. Like, what would happen to the suit that a tank of water attached to
Well,
it just starts spewing into your head?
Yeah,
helmet,
because supposedly it's very hot in those suits. So which I believe, of course, but so they supposedly have a water supply that
I
then
see.
leaked up into the helmet somehow or
Interesting.
whatever. I just thought it was funny, Are you finding that, Andrea?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Let's see. This was July 16th, 2013. And it was allegedly a small water leak in the suit that went undetected. And then this astronaut went out for a long spacewalk and it just started filling the suit with water.
Yeah, kind of vague, right?
Real vague. Yeah. They
Yeah.
don't go into They don't go into any detail about it.
Thought
They call it
that
a
was
high
funny.
visibility close call.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Now, did you ever notice? I don't know if you've watched much of the space station footage, but they're all just fucking partying all the time. Every time you see them, they're just going, "We're having just a great time working up here," and then they got like guitars, and every time you see them being filmed, they're just fucking around. They're never going like, "Oh, I'm fucking tired. This is really hard work being an astronaut in space."
Yeah.
And look, these are our suits. Oh, here's our suits. We're about to get the stupid lady with the fucking.
Straight up hair.
Yeah, with the Frankenstein hair that just stays up. She's like, "Oh, here's our suits. We're about to go out on a spacewalk." Blah, blah. Like, it's just not a believable level of seriousness
Yeah.
with the astronauts. That's another thing.
Well, but also those pieces that they put out are meant to be entertainment.
Yeah.
They're meant to be attractive, draw you to the space program. You know, there's no fun in watching them do 8 hours of experiments in a lab with protective equipment on, and
Yeah, Opie and Jim did an interview with an astronaut where he's talking about that and how it's kind of like sensationalized, but really their sleep schedule and everything is pretty rigorous and everything's pretty fucked up. And
Dude, if you filmed me in space, I'd be like, "Get the fuck away from me." Do you understand? I'm working 20 hours a day.
yeah,
And like, do you have any idea the implications of masturbating in zero gravity, you fucking asshole? Can't do it, so leave me alone.
yeah.
That would be my whole speech. I'd be like, "All right, we're having some technical difficulties here."
yeah. Wah, wah. All right. Well, I don't know if I'm convinced. Yeah, the Earth is flat. I'll go with it.
The Earth is a semi-sphere.
The Earth was visited by a cube. Did we talk about that already?
Let's get
What?
into the cube thing in a second, if you don't mind.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I don't mind. No, we can
Because-
get into that in a second.
I have a feeling that something else is about to happen.
Oh my god,
Do you know what I mean?
I'm scared.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Somebody's calling.
what is that?
Oh, let's see here. How do I answer the phone? Oh, God. Yeah. Hello?
Cell phone.
Hello, our old pal Brian calling in. You've been hearing the discussion on the flat Earth. What do you think?
Well, I heard the words reasonable level of seriousness, so I decided to call in.
Did we say that?
Yeah, about the astronauts goofing off.
Oh, yeah. So what did
Yeah.
what do you think about those old stronauts? Too silly for my liking.
There's much too more important seriousness back here on Earth. I want to talk about the Confederate flag since people are getting riled up about it the last week.
Oh, we already talked about that.
I want everybody to know that I'm flying my stars and bars upside down right now to show signal of distress in the Confederacy and to send a message to President Davis that if he don't shape up, we're going to throw him out.
All right, but one problem there. Isn't the stars and bars the same right side up as it is upside down? Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a little bit symmetrical. Yes, that's correct. But I just, people when they drive down my street, they're going to see it and they're going to like, ooh, I should think about who I vote for this time. This guy's kind of running this Confederacy into the ground, and if we elect somebody a little bit different from him, we can get it all squared away.
Actually,
and, I'm just trying to send a message out to the people, and we're going to fix this. We're going to fix it real good.
What's going to happen is somebody's going to break your car windows.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to happen. All right, well, what else you got for us? You got no comments on the flat Earth?
The flat Earth.
All right, fuck you. That's
well,
what we're talking about.
For somewhere on the outer surface of the Earth, to be the center of it, it has to be flat. So if you're going to say one particular city is the center of the world, meaning Earth, that does not work in a globe-type Earth. The core is going to be the center of the Earth or center of the universe, or I don't know. I'm still, this subject gets me because I'm still unconvinced that we're revolving around the sun. So I don't know where to begin on this subject.
What do you mean you don't think we're actually revolving around the sun?
No, I'm a
A geocentrist.
geocentric, yeah. So they U.S.-centric universe.
not taking this seriously.
Everything revolves around us. So, yeah. Speaking of,
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
I feel like he wasn't taking us seriously.
No.
I got rid of him.
He made some good points about the Confederate flag, though.
Yeah. Well, you were about to get into the stupid black cube that got photographed and videotyped.
Yeah. A mass cube sighting near El Paso,
videotype.
Texas. It was caught on videotape.
This looked pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And we've
Here,
talked
I'm
about
gonna-
black cubes on the show and their prevalence in religious symbolism and blah-dee-dee.
Right.
You got this for us?
Yeah.
I don't have the spreadsheet open. I'll open it for the next hour. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm not worried.
So people saw this black cube. A couple of people have already talked about it on radio shows and shit, and a couple of witnesses. It's just hovering there, what looks to be pretty low in the sky.
Yeah, it allegedly descended out of. It was kind of a cloudy day, and it allegedly descended out of the clouds. People described it as coming out of a portal. They said it looked like it emerged from a portal
In Texas, right?
in Texas, just outside of El Paso.
El Paso. That guy stole a bunch of weed from me one time.
He was a thief. You got this video or what?
Yeah, it's playing now. So it was like completely overcast, and it was also sighted and photographed and videotaped by many people in the area. This was a mass sighting for sure.
Did any normal sized people see it? Or
Yeah.
get it? Many
Right
people.
now, we're sent in to
Nice.
us by a source
So there it
named
is. I don't know
Walter
if you guys
C.
can see it on the
Lenz
screen
of
or
El Paso,
not.
Texas.
I see the black
who
thing.
thankfully snapped
Yeah.
images
Just listen
that
to
you're
this.
now looking at of what can only be described as a massive three-dimensional cube-shaped UFO, which in the very first image can be seen almost shooting out at a pretty fair rate of speed out of what looks like a massive black hole type portal or opening up within the sky and surrounding clouds. The source states that this black portal or hole in the clouds appeared within a matter of seconds, which is initially what caught his eye and made him do a double take at the clouds as he left his office of employment for lunch at around 1 p.m. noon in El Paso. He said that it began to get very windy out, and he noticed a small portion of clouds begin to swirl and circle in on one another, forming this portal shape, at which point the center of the clouds became jet black. Now this is when the source decided to hurry up and pull out his phone for a picture, and at this point, the source had not seen any UFOs, and had simply wanted to image these anomalous cloud formations. But just as he snapped the first image, this massive-looking cube-shaped UFO is caught on the photograph, jetting out of this dark black wormhole-looking manifestation and
That's
making
crazy.
its presence known. The source observed the craft.
Yeah, these pictures
or
are nuts.
entity,
That looks like
whatever
a
this thing could
fucking-
be,
it I
looks mean, that is a
watched it move
fucking
at a steady
cube.
pace
That is a
through the cloud
cube.
cover,
And it looks like a
disappearing into the clouds, and for a few
spinning
short
cube
moments
kind of
breaking
Yeah.
thing,
down once
like
again. To
like the
mystify
storm
all
on
those who
Saturn.
might be gazing up
Yeah,
from below from
like
the
it's
events that are
spinning on its
transpiring.
corner.
Walter was
Yeah.
able to snap about 7 more images and attempts to catch the object on its exit from one cloud to another, out of which he successfully caught 2 more images of the actual object being
So there's not video; it's just images.
just as it starts to come out
There's
of a break
another
in the
video.
clouds.
Hold on.
Yeah, but
That
is
was
there
the
video
initial-
of the event?
I'm not sure. I watched this earlier, and I can't remember if it was photos.
But a
or-
bunch of people fucking saw
A
this.
bunch of
thing.
people saw it and took video or pictures at least. I'm sure there's video somewhere, although it might have been too far away to capture on video. But then, let's see, Secure Team 10 on YouTube got an interview with a woman who is responsible for some of the photos that
You wanna hear this?
had gotten.
Secure Team 10 on YouTube.
Through the clouds, and to say the least, was pretty frightening
Find the interview
for
part.
some people. And it's just gotten an amazing response.
Yeah, this.
Sources-
What do you think, David Box?
Thank you for sitting down
It
with
definitely
me here
looks
and
like a
agreeing to
cube.
this impromptu
And it doesn't
phone
look like
interview,
it's something that was
and taking the
photoshopped
time out
in.
of your day
It looks
No.
like it's
about
part of
what
the
you saw
No.
original
today with
image.
regards
Looks
to
crazy.
this
Let's hear what this lady
massive-looking
says about it.
UFO that apparently just appeared in the sky over El Paso. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. It was pretty freaky, to say the least. I'm just happy to talk about it because I think it needs to be talked about.
Well, now can you tell me and the viewers who watch our YouTube channel, Secure Team, what you were doing that day and what you saw? And of course, you can feel free to omit any sort of personal details that you don't feel comfortable talking about.
Oh, shut up,
Seeing
you
as
Thanks,
this
guy.
is
You're
on the
not
internet.
raping her, you idiot.
worst
Of course,
interviewer
you
ever.
understand.
Feel free to
Oh,
limit your
absolutely.
response to whatever
Well,
makes you feel
as I
comfortable.
told
Like
you
that's
in
the
my
opposite
email,
of what you
I was on
do.
my way back to the office from lunch to I guess I should mention that I have never been an avid UFO follower or researcher or anything like that. I'm a single mom, and I put most of my time into my work at a local attorney's office here in El Paso. So I really don't ever have the time to be online or to research things on this subject.
Right, I understand that. So how did you find out about Secure Team?
Well, after I took the zoomed-in pictures of the clouds, where you can see the black square, I got home and I showed the images to my son, who's 16, and a friend of his who had also seen the image told me that I should take the pictures and email it to a UFO research group or something.
That was good advice right there. Good advice.
All right, well, we're not going to get
I
anything interesting out of this lady after that, I don't think, right?
I don't think so.
A UFO research something?
Some
I
kind
like
of
this.
UFO thing.
Dude, that thing is fucking crazy.
I've
Yeah.
always identified with the cube shape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we've talked about on the show before the cube in great detail, how much it appears in ancient religions and shit, right?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the cross unfolding, or the cube unfolding into the cross. Even,
Yeah,
and-
the symbol of the cross from Christianity is just an unfolded cube.
Yeah.
If you look at it. But also the cube is it represents that storm on Saturn, right? Which just looks like a swirling black cube fucking storm.
Yeah, it looks
And
like
on
a hexagon.
On the other side of the planet is a storm that looks like the NBC eye. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So when we studied religion on the show, how often do we come back to the origins of a religion being Saturn worship?
almost always.
It's almost every single time, right?
Yeah.
So this stuff is pretty fucking key to the development of society. This whole black cube thing.
Yeah.
It's represented in Jewish, Muslim, Christian stuff everywhere. And David Box, you called into the show last time and said that there was a lot more to go into on the holographic universe, as we were talking about Saturn being a possible projection point.
Yeah.
Basically, of reality onto the Higgs field, which we were learning about at the time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And the Higgs field being like basically the plane of existence you could think of, which they had to establish to chart the existence of the God particle, right? You remember all this shit?
Yeah.
So the theory, the Saturn Moon matrix theory, basically goes into this is the projection point where your reality is being projected from, and how you're being trapped. You're a higher being trapped in this lower state of existence by this whole prison network somehow.
Yeah. And basically, your brain is like a telescope that translates data from a source that passes through a holographic plate, and then your brain works as sort of a device to make sense of it.
Right.
And then it projects outward the version of reality that you're being dialed in to see. That's like the holographic idea, or the concept of the holographic universe, is that there's data that flows in, and your mind makes sense of that data and then outwardly projects the reality that you see.
Right.
So there's a few like...
What, you don't get it?
I just hate it.
Yeah. It's weird. But there...
Because it does make sense. I just
So
hate
then,
it.
what does it mean when a black cube drops from the fucking sky over Texas? What is that supposed to tell us? You know?
that the people in that spot are collectively creating that reality by translating the data a certain way in their heads.
But we saw pictures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's real.
we're creating that reality for them
No,
Because-
no.
because it's our
No, they did it first. Black cube drops from the sky. I think HARP. That's what I think. Like those sky swirls. Remember all those sky swirls?
Oh.
that
Yeah.
were, like vortexes opening in the sky over like Norway and shit, and people are taking videos of all these insane things, and from all different angles. Hundreds of people fucking videotaping these weird ass swirls in the sky. And the only real explanation for it would have been some kind of fucking massive projection system, right? Or some sort of weird...
or some kind of large scale weather manipulation.
Yeah, weather control.
It didn't look like any weather phenomenon, those things.
No, I remember those, yeah.
Yeah. So I immediately thought, I don't know, some sort of fucking deliberate illusion having to do with, deep religious roots or something. I don't know.
Like they're manipulating the signal that goes into people's minds, and they're all collectively having a hallucination.
Or just creating a holographic illusion in the sky, more simply, with human technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the holographic universe isn't like you're a person walking around and the reality around you is a hologram. The holographic universe is you are existing as a hologram. And really, if there
And
was
everything else is real.
No, everything else is, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So it would be more like the Matrix.
Yeah, and there's experiments that...
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing, that this whole plane of existence... Remember, let's go back to the God particle. Do you remember what this was? The Higgs boson?
Yeah.
And in order to understand, things at that level, they had to establish the Higgs field, which we basically equated to a projector screen.
Right.
Because the Higgs boson was smaller than a quark. It is like it is the tiniest, from what they know, the smallest possible measurement of matter.
Right.
Or at least the next step.
And I think it's even more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But because that got into all the behavior stuff of like particle and waves and all that shit too, right?
Right.
So, anyways, I just want to get that out there. Like we're talking about the idea that you can project reality onto this physical field.
Mm-hmm. And
this is the plane that we're in.
Yeah, and there's evidence to support that your observation manipulates the way reality appears, even to others around you.
Of course, we've covered this extensively.
You've heard of the double slit experiment.
And then there was the update recently that we talked about with Mary Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the helium atoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's they
which, for anybody who doesn't know, this is the idea that, Andrea, you explain it better, that a subatomic particle will behave either as
a particle will decide how it behaved once it is observed.
Almost like, and the evidence shows like it decides after the experiment.
Right, exactly.
So it means time is fucking worthless.
So
it's
it
nothing.
chooses to exist as a wave or as a particle after it does its thing, and then you look at it, and then it says, "I was a particle."
Yeah, when you watch, it's a particle.
Man.
When you're not watching, it's a wave.
And then see, when you start to get into stuff like that, I would find it weirder to discover that this is not a deliberate like projection of some kind. This whole reality,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I would find it stranger that this wasn't a simulation. There's been people who have proven mathematically, maybe not proven, but made a compelling argument mathematically that it's more likely that we're living either like a projected simulation or a computer simulation than we are the actual 2015 of Earth reality.
Yeah.
That it's way more likely that this is a historical record that we're just running through in, what I mean? Or it's
like determinism. Is that what you're talking? Like we don't have free will, and that things are happening as they are supposed to happen, and we're just reenacting sort of a.
Oh, that we're not in what we would think of as like a singular reality. We're in a simulation which there might be billions.
We're in the internet.
Run by someone in reality somewhere a million years in the future.
Okay, well, hold on. Two things to consider. One, there is that famous thing that I know David Box knows more about, where a person starts to react to something before it occurs. So it's like the message is sent to the brain.
It's called profiling.
And then the brain starts to react before the message is projected into your reality because it runs through... Right?
Yeah, let's see, like the...
Well, yeah, if a subatomic particle can decide how it behaved only because it has to decide because it's being observed after an experiment, then why not?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's doing. If nobody observed the results of the experiment, it wouldn't have results. It wouldn't happen.
They wouldn't be there.
That's basically telling you if a tree falls in the woods... No.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Because the tree
It doesn't.
isn't there.
You happen
there.
upon an already fallen tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
it didn't
how it
make
was.
a sound. Yeah.
This tree was born fallen.
But the mind builds up to feeling pain, and then the source of the pain is administered. So if you watch the brain actually starts to feel the pain and react to it before the needle even pricks your finger. And it's not like the subject...
Even if you can't see it to anticipate it?
Exactly, the subject doesn't see the needle coming and doesn't even necessarily know that they just know they're going to feel a little bit of pain somehow, somewhere.
But it's milliseconds, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's smaller than that. Like the small, but the neurons are firing and all that shit is happening prior to the actual needle being pricked to the finger. So it's almost like the event unfolds, and it's a strong argument for what's called determinism, in that there is no free will, and the timeline is just a brick of events that we're sort of reenacting, and we just perceive free will.
Right. We had that. Remember when we had Mary Marshall on? She gave us the analogy, and she was the paranormal studies teacher and had a lot of physics expertise, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. And she gave us the analogy of, I hope I can explain this right, of time being like different lanes in a horse race. And right? Is that right? And
yes.
So like events like play out as though they're running right next to each other. Like they're happening simultaneously, but sometimes there are overlaps and horses run into the wrong lane and blah, blah, blah. This analogy that like time actually, all times exist together on a different type of plane, than we can perceive.
Right. And so here's the other thing that I want to point out that I saw literally drawn out for me today. The way your brain networks is the same way that the universe networks energy is also the same way that the internet networks energy.
Yeah, if you look at if you look at a model of the universe, it looks just like a set of neurons in the brain.
Right, and if you look at like a visual depiction of the internet, it looks the same way.
Yeah.
Is that just because somebody drew it like that, though?
Well, it all looks like trees, essentially.
Yeah. It's just
what was that shit about computers dreaming the other day? That fucking freaked me out.
Yeah, that was some weird stuff. That's Google's AI.
When Google's AI dreams, it looks like my eyesight when I do acid.
Yeah.
Yep.
How is a computer... I'm still mind blown by that. That
doing.
A computer dreaming is like literally going through... It looks like the same processes as my brain when I'm tripping.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's because that brain is learning to be a brain. Weirdly. So it's the same thing as your brain when it's like poisoned and dying. Mm-hmm. They're like at the same level. So the Google brain is, they're teaching it to, if they say, get a picture of a shoe, they're teaching it to, instead of finding a picture of a shoe that already exists, to create a picture of a shoe. So when it's not doing that, it's just constantly creating a bunch of fucking weird ass pictures all the time, because that's just what the brain does.
Weird.
It's so weird, I know. They call it dreaming, but that kind of personifies it, I think, in a creepy way.
It's what it sees in its mind's eye.
Right.
To further personify the computer. Yeah, it looks just like a crazy acid trip. Or if you've ever done DMT, that's like the realm where you get transported.
I just tried DMT a couple days ago.
Oh, really?
We just it just had some weed and didn't really smoke it like you're supposed to, or snort it or inject it.
I got really bad weed the other day. It was a week or two ago. But if you didn't have a total out of body experience, you didn't have the real good shit.
Well, no, and from what I read, the way that we did it is the weakest way you can possibly fucking get it into your system. So I
it would have to be super good to begin with.
It was sort of just felt like a little bit like mushrooms almost. It just had a little bit of extra high to it,
Yeah,
but
we smoked it on top of some weed, and fuck, it was the best thing ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this shit was weak.
You had a total out of body experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you
just smoking it with a regular lighter on regular weed.
You just get put into a different space.
I did not have that.
Everything is geometry. Yeah, it's
maybe yours wasn't good.
Yeah, I had some stuff a couple weeks ago that was just not.
It was whack.
Real whack. Yeah.
Whack DMT.
It was bunk.
It was bunk.
Back to the fucking cube in the sky. Let's wrap this up.
Sky cube.
I think that it goes without saying that that's very freaky, and you looked into whether anyone had debunked this.
No, and all I found was more information supporting it.
Well, with any mass sighting, it's
Yeah.
really hard for somebody to go, okay, well, no, clearly this is fake. They made this video, and so did this person, and so did this person, and so did this person.
And now here's
know.
an interview with a person who personally saw it with their own eyeballs. You don't get that very often with a UFO sighting either.
It's just weird.
People
That doesn't-
don't want to like talk and say I saw this, and you know what I mean.
I don't see, like, intelligent craft there. I see some kind of fucking illusion or something spiritual.
This is something that seems
Possibly something spiritual.
In the cube?
Yes.
An illusion? Or
Yeah.
something spiritual?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean something spiritual? Like,
I don't know, like something I have no idea, I don't understand whatsoever. I just mean it doesn't look like some kind of manned craft. It looks like
No.
some
no.
I think that it looks like something kind of peeking out from like another dimension.
perhaps a demon.
Oh, do you think it's a cube demon?
It could be.
Cube demon.
Yeah. Remember those cubes in Aqua Teen Hunger Force? They were fucking dicks.
The moon people, yeah.
Yeah. No, that wasn't the moon people.
No, they
Oh,
were the cube.
They
Oh,
were
the
just,
cube-
fucking
I see.
cubes that came down and fucked with
Yeah,
everybody.
they were wise.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and there were the cubes that fucked with everybody on Futurama too.
Man, cubes are always up to no
Remember
good.
the blockheads in Gumby?
Jesus Christ.
We've
everywhere.
been conditioned to fear cubes.
The cube is
like the
definitely huge. We got to stay with this. I don't know what else to do with it right now, though.
No, me neither. But I shared the footage with everybody. Take a look for yourself. There is some stuff that looks like it might have been manipulated, but there's a lot more stuff that looks very real
Yeah.
and difficult to manipulate. I mean, you see it emerging from the clouds. It's weird.
All right. Well, that's enough tinfoil hat for right now.
We're just getting started.
We'll be back in a couple of minutes to do a whole bunch of other terrestrial topics. Stick with us. Oh, yeah. All right, yeah. We're back. Andrea, did you have a good time in the bathroom?
Oh, it was lovely.
Remember the time you took 3 shits here?
Dude, Vinny,
I was sick.
I gotta say, every time I come here and take a piss in your toilet, there is shit sprayed in the exact same spot.
I know, and I keep cleaning it off.
And I'm always trying to clean it off by shooting my piss on it.
Ew, you do that? That's fucking gross.
Is that really that fucking gross?
Yeah.
Is it more gross than the shit just being there all the time, caked on the side of your toilet bowl?
Yeah, well, I'll clean it. It'll just come back.
Disgusting.
I have really poor eating habits. I do. It gets really bad. So what were you guys talking about before with some stupid experiment?
We were talking about the double split experiment.
No, you weren't.
Well, I'm saying on that last fucking segment, and then I was talking about another experiment that they did sort of on top of that,
Yeah.
where they ran the experiment a bunch of times, and they had the data from the experiment going straight to printers and into envelopes. So one set of data was monitoring the particle flying through the slit, and then the other data was being collected at the impact point on the wall, where you will either get the 2-slit pattern or the diffraction pattern.
Oh, so they're going like, you can't trick us. We're going to fucking see if it stays consistent. Like,
Right, so they're
Okay.
printing those 2 sets of data and pairing them together with their counterpart, through the slit and the impact point. But they're not looking at the data. The data never appears on a computer screen or anything like that. It goes straight into the envelopes, and then they're sealed up. And then they take the first pair and the last pair, and they look at both sets, and it yields a pattern where there's just 2 slits on the impact point. So they look at the particle passing through that set of data. They look at that, and then when they look at the impact point, they get the 2 slits, as you would expect. So when you see that on the first run and the last run, you would expect that the ones in the middle are probably going to be the same. So they take the remaining 100 and split it in half, and when they look at the first 50 pairs, they're looking at the slits as the particle passes through. They look at that data, and then they look at the impact point, and they get the 2 slits, just like the first run and the very last run. The remaining 50... they destroy the envelopes that contain the data where the particle is passing through the slit.
The ones they already looked at, they destroyed.
No, they didn't look at these ones.
Oh, okay.
So they have a remaining 50 pairs that they haven't looked at yet. And all the other ones they did look at, both sets of data, and they got the 2 slits. So they take the set of data from this remaining 50, and they take the data from the point that passes through the slit, and they burn it. And it's never going to be seen by anybody. It doesn't exist anywhere else, but now it's completely gone. And then they look at the data at the impact point of that remaining 50, and what they see is the wave pattern. And I don't know if they ever did anything where they took a pair and looked at the impact point first and then looked at how it passed through the particle. I mean, we'll have to look it up and look at it. But the idea is that the data, although it was recorded and printed and put in an envelope, allegedly, it didn't actually materialize in reality until the point when we either did or did not choose to allow the data of the passing point to exist. You see what I'm saying? So the impact point results didn't exist as they exist when you look at them until you either did or did not have the first results available to you.
So there's no telling what was in the envelopes when they burned them.
No.
Yes.
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
And they did that on purpose. Jesus Christ.
So that it wouldn't determine
Right.
what the impact was like.
What a weird fucking thing, dude.
The way that your observation.
What a weird fucking thing reality is.
That's like time traveling, though. That kind of shit is like to me the first look into traveling in time, because
it's
that
at least
result happened at that point, but it didn't actually become what it was until way later when they looked at the results.
So it might be showing that like maybe a person can never travel through time, but you might be able to affect the past from the future.
You know what
I mean? Like,
I don't know.
I don't think it has any implications on like a physical body traveling through time, but it definitely means you might be able to have a cause in the future and an effect in the past.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you think.
You definitely do, but we've only measured it on extremely small scales. Right?
You could say that the way that we look at the future and the way that we find new things is changing the way the past actually happened, at least in our minds. You know, like the history evolves in our heads over time as we learn more things about it. You know what I'm saying? So now, what's the truth? Did what actually happen, or is what we came to find what happened? You know, it's all data that either has or has not been looked at, and it has pairing data that either has or has not been looked at. So it's interesting to think about.
I'll get it. It's Brian again.
Put that on silent.
Hello.
It's a radio show.
Hey, kind of feel like a dick. As Homer told Lisa, you never ever interrupt a hoedown, and I'm breaking up a physical, metaphysical conversation right now. And I do have to say, on that line, there was a big moment yesterday. It was a leap second, and time equaling space, and then throw in relativity, and your atomic clocks are too good, and 2 milliseconds a day adds up, and we have to throw another.
Hang on a second. What's the deal with a leap second? What happens with that?
Google it while I'm talking.
Our measurement of time has been off on such a minuscule level that just like a leap day is added to the year to make up for our miscalculations.
But a leap day is skipping a day, and a leap second is adding a second.
A leap day is adding a day, not skipping a day.
Yeah, it's happened about 6 times in the last 25 years, but never has it happened when the markets are open. So they were, in a free market nowadays, they were worried about all the computers, algorithms that run the stock markets. Just their minds were blown like it was Y2K or something with an extra second in the day, according, to catch up to the atomic clocks. And it came and passed, so.
Yeah.
But I was going to make some more jokes about President Jefferson Davis.
All right.
Trying to kick him off of... So anyway, like a lot of presidents, he was trained by the Fed. He was, he was at West Point. Operative. Got to fly our flags upside down to show the distress signal. We're in danger over here. And then the other day, Vinny kind of gay marriage proposed to me over the internet. And, oh yeah, awesome. No, he's saying that that I would if that was.
Yeah, I was talking about marrying both you guys.
We call casual marriage. Like not gay marriage, but like casual.
Yeah, just friend marriage, just whatever.
Mutually beneficial marriage with no sex. Just for hospital access only, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, SCOTUS, they have their 8 rulings a year that they're cracking out at the last month before they go on vacation for a while. So one of the other horrible decisions, actually this one is kind of good. It granted freedoms where the federal government shouldn't be overreaching. There should be no state marriages.
Wow, this is amazing.
Government didn't have any say in marriage until they were, after desegregation laws came about, they were trying to prevent blacks marrying whites. And then they started giving state approval to marriages, and shouldn't be there in the first place. If you're going by the Constitution, you don't mention marriage. But anyway, so, once you get the freedom ball rolling, you don't stop. You got to keep the momentum up. So I went out and married my dog this weekend. Trying to confirm the fears of everybody, like, if 2 humans get married to each other of the same sex, they're going to be marrying horses. Like, no, we
try this one.
I'm going to marry a dog.
Free, we have private property, and that dog is my property. You tell me that I cannot marry my property. That is wrong.
Oh. All right. What were we going to talk about next? Let's get Brian's comments on that.
Brian, what do you make of the pedophile people who want to classify pedophilia as a sexual orientation?
Well, I self-identify as a dog now, so it's constitutional that I should marry my dog as equals. If we're just throwing, I'm this now and whatever. So, yeah.
Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah.
God
damn it. Ask the question again, and I'll answer it seriously without...
No, it's gone.
All right. Well, thanks for checking in with us again there, Bri.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. This is what happens when I don't have to work the day after.
We are certainly very grateful.
Yep.
All right, well, call us back again. What the fuck? It's just a stupid old DIY talk show no one cares about. Why not?
Thursday.
All right,
I get my union day off for waking up early.
Okay.
I really wanted to know when his day off was.
Thursday.
God,
what
I cannot
He
figure out that
me.
guy's work schedule.
We were talking about the envelopes.
Wait, by the way, the new David Box sound drop.
Fuck.
Let me just make sure everybody knows this is you. Let's see.
God damn it.
It's so funny.
I'm sorry I had fun.
You can hear everybody else laughing in the background, too.
Yeah. It was a good thing that happened, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. What are we moving on to?
Cops giving each other blowjobs in a helicopter.
Hell yeah.
In the helicopter.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's a pretty big deal.
So these cops are fucking driving around in a helicopter.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know what I mean. And and they're flying around and they start talking to each other about whether or not one would blow the other one or something, but they had held down the fucking loudspeaker.
Yeah, they accidentally turned. Nobody got a recording of this because it happened so quickly. But they accidentally turned the speakers on over the loudspeaker, and one man could be heard asking the other if he would perform oral sex on him, and the other officer responded by saying, "You have too much body hair."
Wait. Is the speaker on the helicopter as they're flying around?
Yeah, it's like a megaphone.
So people are looking at a helicopter in the sky that's being like, "Hey, would you fucking blow me? Nah, you're too hairy."
That's awesome.
Will you suck my dick?
Oh,
That's
fantastic.
And what? I don't know, dude. What is the? Do we have like quotes of what they exactly said?
The only exact quote we have is, "You have too much body hair." Apparently, a lot of it was indiscernible.
It kind of sounds like two guys joking around, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does, but it's still a super unfortunate, even sarcastic conversation to accidentally broadcast over the city that you work in.
It very strongly implies that they've already seen each other naked.
Also, yeah, that's true.
Well, in some movies, now it's not in some...
Cops, like, hang around
but
naked
they have,
together.
like, a locker room they all fucking go into, you know?
Maybe it's a chopper guy thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, who are these chopper cops that are just flying around doing nothing and just joking about giving each other blowjobs, too? Don't they, like, reserve the choppers for, like, important stuff?
The new guy gets in the helicopter, and the guy's just in his underwear, like, "You're not wearing your clothes, are you? It's summer. The fuck? You can't fly with your clothes on in the summer."
You have any idea how hot these birds get?
Get that cock out.
Rookies.
There you go.
So that's what it's like in California to have a helicopter cop.
What a progressive state.
Yeah. See, they can't even make fun of that in California.
Well, you know what they did in California?
They're too uptight. What did they do? All blow each other?
They made vaccines mandatory for children.
Oh, yeah. Was this the thing Jim Carrey was all fucking...
Yeah, Jim Carrey is pissed.
Well, I don't... mandatory, like, forced medication is a bit creepy.
Yeah,
we've had the vaccination discussion on the show before, because it's another one that typically just gets discussed by fucking screaming children on television.
Yeah.
It's all bad and it's all good, and there's no realistic fucking discussion in the media on it, which is would be to say, like, hey, polio vaccination was fucking great, you know?
Yeah.
Some parents going, well, hey, if I follow the plan, my child has to have 110 fucking shots by the time they're 8 years old or whatever. It doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. You know, there's got to be a middle ground where things make a little bit more sense, where you're not also just making money for pharmaceutical companies. You know, because how many vaccines are just pushed to make money?
Probably a majority of
90%.
Yeah. Now here's what's kind of interesting about Jim Carrey's rant is that he actually makes a pretty good amount of sense. He's not
sense. Fuck, he makes dollars, man. He's rich.
He doesn't really take an extreme stance.
Remember the movie number 23?
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was not good. Sorry.
Okay, he even says, he went on like a Twitter tirade, and he even says, "I am not anti-vaccine. I am anti-thimerosal, anti-mercury. They have taken some of the mercury-laden thimerosal out of vaccines, not all."
All right, he knows what he's talking about more than us.
Yeah, and he cites a documentary called, traceamounts.com, has a documentary that apparently is really informative. And then he says, "I am pro-vaccine, anti-neurotoxin."
See, that's what's so childish about this. Like, you have to be pro or anti-vaccine.
Yeah.
What a ridiculous fucking stance to have to take.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not even the issue. It's like, to me, it's like, who's gonna mandate that you inject shit into your fucking
no, it's
and
it's
what
awful.
it is that you inject.
Yeah,
I would
fuck
probably.
that.
I don't think, if it were me, that might be enough to make me move.
This is
you know what I
where
mean?
they start
Like,
putting RFID chips in. They put them in your mandatory vaccine, and then you don't have a choice.
The stage is set that now here's a bank of things that are absolutely required for you to inject your kids with. So then, it's one more step to like, and here's a chip, and here's then it gets to fucking what was the dystopic book where they had to put like weights on people who were stronger and everything so everyone would be equal? Was it
I don't know that
Brave
one.
New World? I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been.
Probably.
You know what I mean? And eventually you just get to creepy creepy shit. But you can't just set a precedent that the government can order you to medicate your kids preemptively, can you?
No.
What do you think? Is that the kind of place where you want to live?
Yeah,
No.
like what if people are vaccinating their kids, then what is a non-vaccinated kid like? How do they threaten a vaccinated kid? You know.
Well, I said that, and Andrea said I was wrong for making that point one time.
Yeah.
What's the?
Well, because the way it works is that vaccines create an antibody in your system. You know, a vaccine is a killed form of the disease so that your body knows how to process it when a live form gets in there, so then you don't have to get it. The thing about diseases is that they evolve and change, and just because you've been vaccinated against the original thing, if that virus or disease or whatever gets into another person and mixes with their chemistry and evolves even slightly, you're no longer immune to it.
I see.
I think it's kind of weird that somebody just died from the measles in the U.S.
Interesting.
It's the first time in 12 years that the measles has caused a fatality in the U.S.
Yeah, big deal. It's going to happen once in a while.
Yeah, well, obviously it's going to happen about every 12 years. But there was a huge, I'm sure you guys heard about the huge vaccination thing where an unvaccinated kid got the measles at Disneyland. Yeah, it was in California. And passed it to some people, and there was like a measles outbreak, and this apparently is the only person who ever died from it in the 12 years that have passed. But I don't know. Do you think it's coincidental that there has been a rise in non-vaccinators and also a rise in easily preventable vaccinated diseases?
Is that true? Is everybody making a fool of themselves now?
Yeah, absolutely. Anti-vaxxers look stupid. Now, if they made their requests more reasonable
but you
and
understand
said something
why-
like take the neurotoxins out of them.
Well, but you understand why people go like, fuck this, I'm not taking any of it. People lived for plenty of long times without this
absolutely.
bullshit.
And I very much identify with that, but science disagrees, and
Yeah.
in a lot of ways I have
but
to
especially
depend on
there was
the science.
The autism scare was pretty real for a while. You know, I mean the numbers of a couple studies did look like it could be linked to autism, but then it turned out to be kind of
that turned out to be a hoax. But that guy actually who linked that just died mysteriously.
good.
He was found face down in a river with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
To the chest, right? Because that's how you kill yourself.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, you shoot yourself
That's
right
not-
in the chest.
Can
That's
I-
a common. Yeah, definitely.
Ow, I feel like that would hurt your
you
wrist.
Hold it like this.
Yeah, you pull it with your
Two
thumb.
hands. I was holding a pen in my other hand. I guess I wouldn't be doing that if
Yeah.
I was gonna shoot myself in the heart. But that's kind of unusual, don't you think?
Yeah, everyone dies.
Yes.
Everyone who knows some stuff.
Yes.
I think vaccines are kind of. I mean, do you kind of think that vaccines never should have existed in the first place, and that man should have been given the opportunity to naturally evolve and overcome it? I mean, wouldn't we have a much stronger human, more adapted to the way the world is now if we never vaccinated anybody?
No,
We wouldn't?
I don't think so.
No.
No,
My goodness.
Why?
I don't think so. I feel like it's the diseases are too much. I feel like one of them would have wiped out the entire human population by now.
Yeah, but
I think that vaccines were important for our preservation at one point.
Sure. But is that a good direction for mankind to go? Where
Using
they sort of
our
take,
brains to create science that prolongs our longevity.
Do you think
and you should have to fight a tiger when you're 13.
Well, yeah.
Well,
that's a given.
that doing stuff like that in medicine is where man kind of starts to manipulate the natural selection and the natural order of
Basically,
things.
what this conversation comes to is why are we keeping the retards around?
Yeah. All right.
That's what he wants to know.
I can't answer that. I don't
Right?
know.
I'm just translating.
Yeah, well,
for you.
I mean,
Yeah.
the weak are supposed to fucking die. And if we were supposed to get wiped out and only 10 people survived that were strong enough to do it, that's enough.
Yeah,
and that would have led to a stronger race of mankind.
But
allegedly, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Physical strength and health do not match the contribution an individual can make to a community. And humans are unique in that they build communities based on intelligence. So whereas someone like me, who's pretty smart and can learn a lot of stuff, maybe grew up with lung problems and was sick all the time and would have died without modern medicine, then the world would be without my contributions. As a human community, we've learned that intellectual contributions are just as important as physical ones. So being intellectually strong also makes you fit, just in a less physical way.
And makes you quite an attractable mate. Why the intellect is desirable by females and males alike, David Box.
You make it sound like I'm making the argument that you should be dead right now.
No. That's not. I'm just using myself as an example because I know it'll get an emotional response from you.
Slow down. Let's explore that.
No, I just mean evolution creates multifaceted communities because those are the ones that function the best. And because we're smart, we're able to aid intelligent people who are possibly physically weak, and that intelligence aids the physically strong as well, while the physically strong aid the physically weak in a number, I mean, it creates a balance where everyone kind of holds each other up. So survival of the fittest is still true and applicable, but it's just two different types of fitness. And sometimes they occur together.
Yes, David.
But is it possible to...
No, David.
To sort of get yourself cornered if you, way in the future, how many vaccinations is the modern person who's still alive for some reason going to have to take just to live on planet Earth?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I hear that for sure.
7,
and even just to
David.
travel to a different country right now, you have to get a dozen vaccinations you've never heard of.
Yes. Yes.
And I totally condemn over-vaccination. I don't think that everything should be solved with a vaccine, but I think that they have a very legitimate place in science and medicine.
Yes.
I think that they could be improved on, just like everything in science and medicine. But
very good point.
I think that some of them have real value.
Yes.
And
Yeah, sure.
My.
Sure, but any vaccination, though, doesn't it sort of hollow out the ground that you're standing on? Even one,
I think it does, doesn't it?
I don't know. I've never thought about it that way.
I mean, and it at what point do you call it a slippery slope? Like, oh my God, everyone has to stay alive. They just have to.
Yeah.
And, now we got to do this, and now you need robot legs,
That's fine. I'll take robot legs.
So, how do we include vaccinations without sort of stepping on the toes of Mother Nature and sort of setting the stage for us completely fucking ourselves? And, our children, that people always think about, our children, we have to vaccinate our children.
The children.
The children way in the future are not going to be the humans that they could have been had we never meddled in the natural selection.
Yes.
And mandatory vaccinations and stuff is sort of like the state taking over where Darwin theory left off,
I see what you're saying. I feel like... Yeah, I just feel like the intelligence aspect of things in terms of evolution is important, and it would not have happened without vaccinations.
Yes.
Sure, but I guess I'm asking is there a line, and where would you draw it?
Yeah, well, I'm drawing it right here at being mandatory. People should get vaccinations because they want to, not because they have to.
Yes.
I don't think anything should be mandatory in terms of vaccinations, because that's how you get things that wipe out people and animals and life. That's how things evolve rapidly and become resistant and really fuck shit up. So, but I just don't think that the intelligence aspect of human evolution would happen without them.
Yeah.
Vinny, you've been remarkably quiet on this subject.
Yes.
And the problem on the planet is white people.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed
Alright.
it is. Mm.
What's interesting is autistic people also made a huge contribution to science and things in the world. Albert Einstein was
Yes,
partially
many
autistic.
have been experimented on.
So
without
you should
their-
vaccinate the
their
fuck out
knowledge.
of your kids
Yeah.
and make them autistic.
Einstein said so. Yeah.
And then they'll be savants,
That's how that works.
That's how it works. Start cranking out them retards.
Can you please tell me, where does the Chicago city government get off charging an amusement tax to viewers of streaming entertainment?
Dude, it's crazy, right?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, there's an amusement tax.
Yeah, that's been there
fuck
for
is
a
that?
while. That's like the cigarette and soda and candy tax that they have to try to, quote unquote, discourage you from buying those things that you're just going to buy no matter what. So now they're just capitalizing on it like crazy.
Money, 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 money.
That's been around for a couple of years.
Okay, go ahead then. What's going on with this
Oh.
fucking shit though?
So now they're extending it
Bullshit head.
to
Bullshit.
do a bunch of bullshit faces. They're extending it to streaming services like Netflix, online movies, music, and more. And they're claiming that it's a way to... What they're saying is that online businesses seem to literally be built to evade tax codes. And so they're changing the tax codes to fit the now existing model of online businesses. And Netflix has already said that they're just going to... People who are in Chicago will just pay extra to cover the tax, and that Netflix isn't going to pay the tax for them. The consumer will just pay extra.
That
Well,
sucks.
yeah, but I mean, so they are paying. They are taking care of the act of paying the tax,
Right.
But yeah,
Exactly. So
9%.
it's what the fuck? It's so much.
Wait, 9% of your
That's
total
what-
payment of what you're streaming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's-
pay $8 a month for Netflix.
Okay, still though, it's I think
Is that how much it is?
I think I saw the number was
But
there.
that fucking shit adds up.
Well, they're projected to make like 12 million off it next year.
Well, yeah, streaming is the only way anyone really views entertainment anymore.
Well, and imagine how it's going to exponentially go upward too.
Mm-hmm.
Because there still are a lot of hangers-ons out there just watching fucking the cable box and shit.
Yeah.
Well, here's
and,
what I think
DVDs
is...
and whatever. But yeah, it's not going to last much longer. But no, $12 million. That's nothing to sneeze at, young Andrea.
Well, here's what's scary about this to me is they are now taxing the exchange of information via the internet. So how big of a step is it to say we're going to tax you for the amount of internet you use?
Yeah.
We're going to monitor how much data is coming from your devices, and we're going to tax you based on how much information you're exchanging with other people, because the internet needs to be capitalized on. They're already kind of doing it. All they're doing is taxing people who are accepting information from Netflix.
Yeah.
There's no product. There's nothing tangible. It's just data that comes through the internet and comes into my home
And into your eyeballs.
And
then out your butt.
ears.
and out your butt.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's how it works.
And your weenster. Is that how much of a cunt society we really are? Is that what a bunch of fucking little pieces of shit? That this is the point that we're at, where they can just go, yeah, you know what? You're going to hear 40 seconds about this on the news, and then it's going to be part of your life, and there's nothing you can do about
you
it.
don't have a choice.
And there's nothing we can do about it.
Thanks for the money, sucker.
Yeah. That's all we've got, right?
That's it.
Great. Okay. Well, like I've said before, I'm buying more ammunition. That's all that's going to happen.
Just buy
When I hear
guns.
things like that, I'm just picturing boxes of ammunition stacking up in the closet. That's all I'm picturing.
It's this is really scary to me.
Yes, it's scary that we're already to that point where they can just go, because years ago, this would have been a giant controversy. And now they know that we're so passive as a society, they can just go, you know what? Here it is. You know what I heard on the news today? Literally 10 seconds about it. And the city of Chicago announces they'll be applying the amusement tax to street, whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Cloud
What?
tax, they're calling
The
it.
cloud tax.
Well, and
Fucking scumbags.
you know, as we
Like-
move closer as a society, as we move closer to having universal free internet services, especially in metropolitan areas, it's kind of a scary idea to think like, okay, we're going to get internet as a utility. It's going to be available to everybody. It's part of just being a person and living in a populated area. And then the government is going to find a way to charge us for it. And I bet that a lot of those people who will make money in the government from this tax are tied up in cable providers and internet providers because that's the exchange of information. And there's no reason that politicians wouldn't be involved in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
They kind of have to be from those companies. Like, how is a politician supposed to, who's supposed to make laws and stuff on this stuff, supposed to do that without having a real deep understanding of how the shit works?
yeah.
You know?
So I can just see this turning into paying the government for our free internet. They're like laying the groundwork to make it so that you have to pay for how much information you're exchanging.
If
Because there's no law like this. That's the reason they're doing it, is because there's nothing like this that takes online businesses into account the way they're currently built.
They're
It's pretty
starting
scary.
to in all different areas, though. I mean, it's been starting for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, what's the surprise? Suppose. I mean, you know they're gonna try this shit at some point.
Yeah.
It's just, of course, here, you know.
Yeah, of course.
a city like this where everyone is just a passive government worshipping cunt. You know.
Yeah.
Of course, they'll roll it out here.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? What are we gonna do?
Well, it's not going to affect. Well, it's probably Cook County.
Cook County, yeah.
Yeah, it will affect me.
You, not me.
Damn.
You don't have Netflix though, do you?
That's whack.
They're gonna start charging you for your YouTube.
Well, no, I mean there has been serious talk about YouTube shutting down and like reopening as a pay service. You've heard about this, and like the deleting channels and shit, and then making you pay for your channel and stuff.
Oh man.
I thought those were all
fuck
just
that.
rumors, though.
I don't think were they.
I don't know.
I don't know,
That would be the lamest thing ever.
but it could be true.
Rumors.
But YouTube is just Google. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
How much of their own thing are they really anymore?
What, YouTube?
Yeah.
No,
Not
they're
much.
just they're a little piece of a pie.
That would be a pretty greedy move for Google to make.
Piece of a pie.
What do you mean?
Tasty pie. Well, I mean,
Think they're already making a pretty penny?
they've got enough money to start building an army of robots. So, you know, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I guess
Google
nothing
probably
would,
makes enough money.
nothing would surprise me anymore, though.
Yeah, it would be kind of lousy for them to then take something that's already free and then try and make more money off of it. It's not like they need it.
That would
they
be
have
such a paradigm shift. I mean, holy fuck. That would, like...
What?
What would that do
having
to
to
the world?
pay for YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would really suck quite a bit.
I kind of think that if YouTube did that, you'd have another website that came up and was like, hey,
Immediately.
fuck that place and
Immediately.
watch your shit here.
Yeah. I don't think you can stop the free fucking media at this point.
No.
I don't think so.
Someone's going to do it, and
Without-
someone's going to
but,
buy the
like-
ad space to give them enough money to do it, because
You-
people will go there.
Right. But you can stop it now. The only way you can stop it now is by like actually disabling the internet. With know, but now we've got the dark web, or the dark net, right?
Darknet,
or whatever.
yeah.
But can you get there without the regular web?
No, I think you have to get there through a portal in the regular web.
I've been there, but I don't remember what it was like.
I've never been there. I've only
I've
heard
never been there
about
either.
It was cool. I mean, I remember what it was like, but I don't remember what I did to get there. It involved like some fucking thumb drive that some guy gave me. Like,
I keep
"Here's this
imagining
key."
that my computer screen gets bigger and it like envelops me, and I see like different realities and
That's
stuff.
dope.
That's the deep net.
That's dope net.
DopeNet.
Dope net.
All right, so Huntington, West Virginia is the unhealthiest city in America.
I find that hard to believe, Andrea.
Well, according to this internet article, that's the truth. So, Jamie Oliver of the Food Network, I don't know if you're familiar with him, went to this
Oh,
classroom.
Stizzy's reminding us. I just got a text that really, if you want to avoid the Netflix thing, all you got to do is set up an account. I don't know, set up an account outside of the city somehow and use a proxy server. So I guess it's not really that hard.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Chicago.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Stizzy. Oh, wait. No, he helped us. All right. So this guy goes to a grade school in Huntington, West Virginia. May I have the thing?
What?
For this video. And shows first graders, a class of first graders, a bunch of vegetables, and they fail to identify any of them correctly.
Oh.
No shit?
No shit. And they're not... Here, let's see.
It's a whole class of first graders?
Yeah.
Oh, they're black.
Fresh food looks like.
No.
Are you
No?
ready for my class?
We are ready. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh man, the
How
teacher's
are you
gonna
guys?
feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
6. Wow. I love working with kids. Elementary
bet you
school
do,
is
you fucking
where it's
weirdo.
at. You know, this is where you
Yeah.
mold kids.
Put your mouth
We're gonna
away.
do a little test. Right. Who knows what this is?
4 tomatoes on a vine.
Not one kid?
Potatoes.
Potato? So you think these are potatoes? Not potatoes, though.
Oh no.
Do you know what this is? No? Who knows what tomato ketchup is? Yeah, that's what it's made out of.
Oh, tomato ketchup. I know that one.
The test I did with the kids today was shocking. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that
Cauliflower.
is?
Broccoli.
What about this? A good old friend. Do you know what this is, honey?
Celery.
No. What do you think?
Alright,
it is,
so these
Anna?
kids don't know what any
Onion,
fucking
no?
vegetables
Don't know what
are.
any of these
Immediately,
vegetables
you get
I think
are.
we get it.
clear
Yeah.
sense of
A
the
mushroom?
knowing
No
anything
idea.
about where
Oh
food
my
comes
God,
from.
there's-
Who knows what that is?
Eggplant.
I might not have known what an eggplant was when I was 6.
Well, one kid guesses that it's egg salad. He goes, I'll give you guys a hint. The first word is egg. And a kid goes, egg salad.
what the fuck are these? Where are these kids from?
West Virginia.
One kid looked at
West
the
Virginia?
cauliflower.
Yeah. Huntington, West Virginia, which is allegedly the unhealthiest town in America.
Oh.
These are 6-year-olds that can't identify tomatoes. Potatoes. He holds up 2 ordinary potatoes, and nobody knows what they are.
But the one kid thought tomatoes were potatoes.
Yeah, well, he obviously didn't know what potatoes look
Are you sure
like.
this isn't the stupidest town in America?
Well, do you think that maybe that's related?
So that's literally how much processed food they literally don't fucking know what food is.
Yeah. They literally don't know what a food is. They only
What
recognize
does that
tomatoes
say
as
to
part
you?
of ketchup.
What does that say to you, Andrea? Why are you showing us this? Come on.
I just think it's frightening. It's also probably a very
yes.
poor community, which would explain why they eat so much processed food, because real food is more expensive than fake food.
I'm happy to see this on mainstream TV at least.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it gets
Well,
attention.
no matter how evil they are, they still have to keep selling a show. You know,
Jamie
So, I mean,
Oliver is the one who exposed the ingredients in McDonald's chicken nuggets and the French fries. He did a whole food expose on McDonald's, which is the main reason why they have changed their business model and a lot of the ingredients in their food in order to pacify the people who got riled up by this guy.
Holy crikey!
Yeah. So he's a mainstream food activist. He got famous
I don't
first
trust anybody.
and then started doing this.
I don't trust anybody.
No, me neither, but he is. I mean, regardless of his motives, he is distributing a lot of information.
Yeah. Exposing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could he be? Possibly. I don't know, but could he be working for them?
No.
There's money in what he's doing. It might not be that he's, a humble guy trying to just help his neighbor. He's capitalizing on exposing shit that he pretty much happened upon.
I guess there is money in that, but could perhaps money not even be his motive?
Do you think he had sex with any of these kids?
Well, yeah. There's a whole part about it at the end of the video, actually.
Oh, okay.
Now, he may have had sex with some of these kids, but is it possible that he went even farther?
Sex with 2 of the kids?
Nah, fucking them to death.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. Whoa.
Stupid kids.
So.
Well, yeah. How much of a fucking retard do you have to be? I mean, do you remember what it was like? Like, that was things they taught us when we were little kids. Was like, here's what this is called. Here's what this is called. This is a goddamn orange. You gotta eat one of these. Here's a fucking grape. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would have pictures of them in books. And you go,
Yeah.
here's what this is. I'm filling that shit in. What the fuck are these kids doing?
They're eating French fries with tomato ketchup.
We're all gonna die.
And they're learning on their tablets.
Yeah.
But David Box,
What up?
did it ever occur to you that with all this learning that the children are doing, that perhaps they're learning the wrong things?
Like Christopher Columbus?
Yeah. He learned how to rape and kill and torture. Those were all the wrong things.
They want me to draw a picture of him smiling.
He murdered people.
All right, well, we still have North Korea to do, but I think maybe we should take a quick break before we get into that.
Maybe we should take a quick break. But Andrea, did you ever stop and think regarding North Korea that now just maybe, possibly, the government there may be up to something?
No. I don't buy it.
Let's do a quick one. Quick break.
Yeah, just a quick one. I just want to get myself put together.
Tell your friends. We're about to come back and do a whole fucking break on North Korea. It's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be fancy.
We are hurtling through space at incomprehensible speeds.
Where are we going?
Is it a disc? Is it a globe? Is it a bubble?
Is it a concave something?
And what does it all mean? And do you remember that guy, Stephen Christ?
Yes.
He was hilarious.
Do we have the sun, or does the sun have us?
Stephen Christ.
Stephen Christ.
Stephen Christ on YouTube is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Stephen Christ.
I'm gonna pull some of that up. So what do you want to tell people about tonight's segment on North Korea?
North Korea has a crazy military. That's pretty much the main point of what we're talking about tonight.
Come on. What do you want to tell them about tonight's segment on North Korea? Because you can see I'm clearly stalling for fucking 15 seconds, and you're just... Come on.
We're going to talk about the North Korean military and their practices and abilities, and we'll talk about what it's like a little bit to be a civilian in North Korea. And then we're going to kind of start getting into the civilian fight back.
Tonight we are?
We'll start. It kind of all connects to the military, to the civilian life.
All right.
She's going to set the stage for the rebellion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is part 4 of the series 100 Minutes on North Korea.
Part 4. So, North Korean population is roughly 25 million people, which is more than I thought it was going to be. 1 million of them died in the early 90s during a famine. When Kim Jong-il was in charge, he diverted all income and money off to the military. The North Koreans have one of the largest military forces in the entire world, roughly the same size as the American military, where they have about 1.3 million active and about 800,000 in reserve. So about 2 million strong, which is pretty much the same as what our military is. They have 1 in every 25 citizens serves in the military. Weirdly enough, it's not mandatory to do military service in North Korea.
But it is in South Korea, isn't it?
Yes.
Interesting.
It is in a lot of places. I think it's really weird that it's not mandatory in North Korea, but it's not.
What a good life.
Well, it probably doesn't have to be mandatory because it's such a clearly more, safer way to live, is being on their side.
Right, exactly. Weirdly, most of the people who defect and actually make it out of the country and to safety tend to be military people, too. So there are a lot of people who pretend to be on the side, rise to a very high rank, and then use that power to get the fuck out of there. Use that knowledge.
That makes sense.
Yeah, 20%.
So that's like a clear path out. Is like I'll just rise up through the ranks until I'm allowed near the fucking exit.
Yeah, exactly. There is a pair of defectors, one of whom is very famous for being outspoken about North Korea, who were military guards who defected together. They usually patrol in pairs, and one is supposed to prevent the other from defecting. But if they go, it's like a chain gang. They go together, you know?
Yeah, but they both escape.
Yeah, well, one died during the escape, but the other one made it out.
How'd he die?
They were climbing under an electric fence. Here's what happened.
Wait, when do you guys set this up? When are we talking about?
This was roughly 12 years ago.
Okay, and is there so few people that escape that this is like?
Yes, usually when people escape, they just they sink into a life of secrecy, or they change their identity. If they're found in China, they're sent back. So they change their names, and they don't usually speak out against North Korea because they're afraid of being recaptured or killed or disappeared or whatever it is, because they're convinced that the North Korean government has its hands everywhere. So these guys, what happened was they were at a broadcast tower, a radio broadcast tower that broadcast North Korean news to South Korea so that they could hear what a lovely time it was. And one of the soldiers, one of the guards, mistakenly said that the following day would be a national holiday, but it wasn't. He was reading the wrong sheet of paper. And they said, holy shit, they're coming to kill us for making that mistake right now. That's how fearful people are. I accidentally said the wrong thing on this radio station that broadcasts to the South Koreans, so now I know my high-ranking officials are coming to take me and make me disappear.
Wow.
Yeah.
And these are, you're talking about the guys that escaped?
Yeah. So they went together. The one who died was the one who actually read the wrong thing over the air. But they got to an electric fence that bordered with China. And one guy knew a little bit about electricity and was able to redirect the current momentarily using a stick and propping it up. And they were crawling under, it was like electrified barbed wire, and they were crawling underneath that. And while the second guy was underneath it, the stick broke and the power came back on and electrocuted him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, at least it was the guy who fucked up in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, so that's usually how, military people are more likely to be in a place where they can actually get across the border. Their military is actually pretty awesome. It's the Korean People's Army. They have 3,700 tanks, 2,100 all-terrain vehicles, 17,900 artillery pieces, 11,000 anti-aircraft guns, 10,000 anti-tank guided missiles, 1,600 aircraft, 1,000 vessels in their navy, and they boast the largest sub-fleet in the entire world. The best part about all of that is that they can't practice on any of their equipment because they don't have the fuel to do any military exercises. So people learn just enough to become quote-unquote certified on equipment, and then they don't use the equipment unless they absolutely have to. So they're members of the Air Force, probably don't know how to fly their planes. They can't.
Do they only have access to oil they come up with? They don't really trade with anybody?
Or with China. They have a relationship
China, okay.
with China, but it's really scarce.
Well, China can get oil.
And the money's not there for North Korea, though.
Right.
They don't have it. So they have this enormous fleet of military vehicles, devastating equipment, and they can't use any of it because they don't have any fuel and they can't get any fuel. So they also allege to have nuclear technology, which I don't know if that's true. They claim to have 10 plutonium warheads and 12 to 27 uranium warheads. But there's really no evidence that they've ever developed that technology. There's nobody claims to have ever worked with them on it. I mean, it seems like somebody just saying, hey, now look what I have.
They also claimed that Kim Jong-un made a magic one cure-all medicine thing, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like a pill that'll cure any...
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They also claim to have a bunch of chemical weapons.
And they also claim that he was born of some weird fucking
from a mountain.
Yeah, mountain creature or some shit.
Kind of divine mountain thing.
He doesn't even poop. But he comes because he can have kids.
Now they claim to be the number one enemy of the United States, and now they claim to have technology that could obliterate us as a country. but they don't use it. So why don't they use it?
Well, because they don't have it.
Right, exactly. And also, if they engage with us and they don't completely wipe us out immediately, they don't have any way to fight back. So there's this really awesome photo, I think we talked about this a little bit before, of Kim Jong-un sitting in the war room.
Yeah,
in
we've
North
seen
Korea.
this. Yeah, and it's hilarious. Like, it literally says, like, North American bombing battle plans or something
it says
on the...
U.S. mainland strike plan.
Yeah.
It appears to show missile trajectories that originate from North Korea and just like travel in a straight line over to the United States mainland. It looks like impact as far as Florida, according to these lines. However, in order to have a missile that can travel that kind of distance with accuracy, it needs to be controlled by a satellite. So they tried to launch a satellite, which immediately
they didn't do a good job.
Careened out of control and is now hurtling around beyond anyone's control in the atmosphere, in danger of, just outside the atmosphere, in danger of colliding with all of the other satellites and shit that's floating around.
What if we live in the same kind of bubble that the North Koreans live in, and our leaders are just like, yeah, they launched a satellite and it's totally fucked up and it's careening through outer space, and they're not.
They can't get us.
They're not about to nuke us.
North Korea is just paradise. Like, yeah, like, you wouldn't believe these fucking idiots. Here's what they think about their president. You can't. You guys are way better off here. Just chill.
Yeah. It'll never be like that here.
You know why North Korea is all fucking water slides and egg salad sandwiches?
Yeah, that's exactly
all
what
day
their
long.
Missiles travel straight.
Yeah.
Without a satellite.
Yeah, straight lines. Which, that's the other thing, is that if you look at a real missile trajectory on like a real projection of what it would be like, it would never travel in a straight line like that.
Of course not, young Andrea.
Of course not. So when Kim Jong-un took power, I was incredibly concerned that he was just going to start bombing people.
Of course you were.
He was really young when he took over the country.
Yes, he was.
On the spectrum of great leaders.
Yes.
Thus far, and a lot of people assumed that he was going to try and prove himself by initiating violence. And so for a long time, for several months in a row, he was threatening to attack South Korea, American bases, mainland America. And then he didn't do any of it. So I just don't believe him now. But you can...
He's a silly man.
I mean, it's no wonder that people try to join the military, because being a civilian fucking sucks in North Korea.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably an easy choice. Like,
yeah, and those are the only people who ever have money. Those are the only people who get to live in Pyongyang, and those are the only people who get pretty much. Yeah, I mean, the elite.
Don't they have like TV stars and fucking bullshit like that?
Yeah, well, they have. I mean, they have TV. They have to. In order,
yeah, I mean, so you just got military
just,
and like elite, and what? Oh, by the way, remind me what the religious situation is.
They worship the great leader. He's a deity.
That's their whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is nothing else. He created it. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to have the internet with this shit going on.
No, they have their own internet. They have a network.
It's like Tim and Eric's internet that they sold on a CD-ROM.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
All right, sorry. Move along then,
but
young Andrea.
The government is able to. They have incredible mass surveillance, including 100,000 cameras positioned around the country, mostly with the Chinese border. They have real-time monitoring of text messages, online data transfers, phone calls, phone and radio traffic, and that extends up to 140 kilometers south of the border into South Korea. So it is massive surveillance.
Me oh my.
Their police is called the Ministry of People's Security, and they are also responsible for the mass surveillance. It's one major government-employed people security force, and they do everything. They will. It's really common, especially in more poor areas, for citizens to be forced to witness public executions, public beheadings. There's a huge homeless problem, especially with kids.
Public beheadings. I used to get drinks there after work.
There's All right, there's a huge problem with orphan children, especially in poor areas where people literally can't afford their kids and they say, I can't fucking take care of you, get out of my house. I just read, I'm going to share this link with everybody too, but I just read a letter that a woman, there's a North Korean defector, she's a woman, she's been really active in speaking out about North Korea and what it's actually like there since she's gotten to America.
Rhea Andwatt, she was an exchange student where I went to school.
She was real loose.
Yeah.
She shared a letter that she had taken with her from North Korea where a family had written her family, and they literally said, by the time you get this, we'll all be gone. We're lying on the floor of our house waiting to die because we haven't eaten anything in weeks. And that's what it was like. That was in like 2001 that she got that letter.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And that's what it's like in the less moneyed areas of the country.
So they just laid down and starved to death?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
As of 2013, the earned average income for an entire household for a year. Does anyone want to guess what it is in North Korea?
$60.
It's a little higher than that.
$65,000.
The average
$72.
Wait, $109
dollars
a week.
It's no, absolutely not. It is $621 a year.
Damn.
Fuck, dude.
And meanwhile, any money that's coming into the country is being funneled into the military and being funneled up to the elite class and distributed by the great leader who takes the biggest chunk and leaves the little chunks for everybody else. Kim Jong-il, things have gotten a little bit better under Kim Jong-un. But Kim Jong-il had people starving. 1 million people died in his famine, and he was refusing aid from outside countries. China was trying to give them rice so people would stop starving to death. He wouldn't accept it.
Right.
America was trying to organize donations through like third party situations that they thought they may accept donations from if they weren't directly associated with America, and they refused all of those too. Kim Jong-il literally let his people starve to death in order to build his military.
Well, you know, when a
Why'd
country
you hit that button, Andrea?
when a country gives you aid, they always expect something in return, you know.
The fuck could they possibly give us in return? Crystal meth. They do have a booming crystal meth industry.
Do they really?
Yeah, booming crystal meth industry,
But
booming
can't you get
heroin industry.
Don't you get like death penalty for having drugs?
Yeah, if you're a citizen, but I'm sure that the military is organized with the government as a way of generating revenue because they really have very little to offer in terms of resources.
Oh, okay.
So the idea was that they could produce drugs covertly and trade them in different countries covertly and bring foreign money in because they don't have enough of their own money to begin with. It's been working. They call them heroin uncles. Are the military guys who smuggle shit back and forth across the border
they're
with
Asian,
China?
so they have to make it sound creepy.
Yeah.
Uncle Heroin.
Yes.
Uncle Heroines. Yeah. So that's pretty fucked up. And it's really the threat of violence, I think, it is underplayed a lot of times in people's perception of North Korea. Now, when you heard that story about saying the wrong thing on the radio, and
What story?
the one I just told about
Right.
the
defectors.
the guard who said the wrong thing on the radio,
then they ran away.
and you were so shocked when I said they're gonna kill them for that. You were like, "What the fuck?" And there's so many tiny little things like that. There's a girl was able to, now this is what we're going to talk about in the next segment, is the exchange of information with civilians in and out of North Korea. There was a girl who said that she was hacking Chinese satellite television in her room.
Okay.
And she got almost found out. They accused her of it and she was able to explain it away somehow. But they do have the technology to find when data is being exchanged, even if you go through a back door.
So
or
wait,
cover
how
a
did
signal,
she was using
she had
a
a
laptop?
computer.
Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
she had a computer they do have the internet and it connects somewhere. So she was able to get satellite TV through some.
So it's not a
backdoor
completely
interface.
closed network.
No, because the government
Because
needs
the
to have
fucking the higher ups want to be able to do it.
right,
So
exactly. As we talked about in the last segment, they're
it's
obsessed
probably
with
something similar
outside
to,
culture.
similar to getting on the dark net. You need to have a
Right.
key or whatever, and
Yeah.
go through the.
And a thing that like scrambles up where you are and
Yeah,
things
you
like
go
that.
through a thing that's like the sliders portal.
Yeah.
You know? And there you are.
But China sucks so bad that they, if they were to catch her stealing their TV, they'd turn her in too. Like that's what it's like between China and North Korea. They're like little butt buddies, and if you get into China, you're not necessarily safe either. But there's lots of motivation to leave the country, which is
Yeah,
why
'cause
people
they
are
don't-
working so hard doing it.
They don't all look alike to each other.
No,
That's the big problem with running away from Korea to China.
No, and like I said, they have to change their identities.
Like,
they have
would
to.
would they look at us and think that we could just disappear in Indiana?
Yeah.
Because I look at them. I'm like, come on, just blend in. What are you doing? Like, how could you ever get caught?
Yeah, it's all looks the same, but the language is usually what gives people away more often because North Koreans do look a lot like South Koreans, and South Koreans are allowed to be there.
Yes.
But so in the next segment, we're going to talk about people who have gotten out in a little more detail, the exchange of information in and out, and what we as Americans can do to help aid North Korean citizens and help them gain access to the outside world.
Remember when you wanted to go there?
Yeah,
you were
but
like, oh, I feel it in my heart.
I wanted to go there, and then by the end of the show, I had started a napalm factory in my backyard.
Yeah,
fucking let's take them out.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah. Is that it for tonight?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, hold on a second. Well, I already got rid of the marching band music. Fuck it.
Oh, that's all right.
We got another one segment on that.
One more segment.
And that's it. Now, next time, we're going to fucking talk about the resistance movement.
Yes.
That's all I really wanted to hear about
I've
this
been
entire time.
saving it the best for last. Everyone else had to listen to all the bullshit first.
Yeah, you want her to blow her wad early, Vinny? Jesus.
Guess not.
You're so inconsiderate.
No. Modern conventional scientific man has adopted a 470-year-old theory by Copernicus. There is no, absolutely zero rotation to Earth. That is a fact. It's been proven.
It's Stephen Christ, y'all. Stephen Christ.
Woo!
Do you guys remember Stephen Christ?
No, I've never heard that shit before.
Dude, Stephen Christ is awesome. I'm going to play another minute of this, and this is the concave Earth. Since we were talking alternative Earth theories earlier, this guy covers the concave Earth. Check this guy out.
Morley failed to detect any rotation to the Earth. Airy did an experiment with telescopes. Sagnac did an experiment with light. There's no rotation to the Earth. And it curves the other way. That's the ruse.
So remember, this guy says that the Earth is not a globe that we're on the outside of. It's a globe that we're on the inside of.
Yeah.
Kind of like the hollow Earth theory, except for there is no outside in his model. The outside would be space, and we're like we're in like a biosphere in space, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
I can get next to that.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool too.
I still don't understand how the sun works on the inside of the Earth. That's the one thing I can't get around.
Yeah, it's doesn't make a lot of sense.
True. The rectilineator experiment proved the curvature of the Earth curves upward. The Tamarack mineshaft plumb bob experiment showed that plumb bobs diverge at the bottom of mine shafts instead of converging, meaning that the center of the so-called gravity is actually 4,000 miles up instead of 4,000 miles down. What does rotate is the heavens, the celestial sphere, and the planets. Earth is not a planet, guys. Earth is the housing to the entire universe. This is a mindset that has been adopted erroneously by mankind for centuries. And it's completely wrong. It's completely erroneous. The moon doesn't rotate on its axis. There's no axis to the moon. It's moving, it's orbiting inside the Earth. We are all inside the Earth. This is the truth.
I like it.
Yeah, he's kind of jiving
What was
on
that
what
study?
we were saying earlier.
You're not going to look up that study he mentioned?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
It
just so
curves the
enthralled
other
with what he
way.
was saying.
That's the ruse. That's the mindset that has been adopted erroneously by mankind.
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
I wonder if you talk like this and say that things are just obvious and that they're proven, that people will start to believe you.
That's what a lot of these guys do.
It's completely wrong.
And he's getting way more views than we are.
Listen. Listen to my voice.
The moon doesn't
Isn't it comforting?
On its axis.
Everything you know is wrong.
To the Earth.
It's been proven wrong.
Airy did
I
an experiment
guarantee it.
with telescopes. Sagnac did an experiment with
Here's a
light.
bunch of fancy words.
There's no rotation to the Earth.
It's
And
the
it
truth.
curves the other way.
I emailed
That's
this guy.
the
He did not email me
It's
back.
truth. The rectilineator experiment proved the
Rectilineator.
Rectilineator.
Oh, I was just looking at the Sagnac effect.
The rectilineator.
Well, tell us about some of this stuff.
Lineate your rectum.
Andrea, yeah, David Box and I think it's to stick a linear object up your rectum.
This guy's trying to
Rectilinear?
seduce us too much.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking sexy.
I'm very curious to hear what he has to say, but he seems to just have too much of an act. You know, it's like, I'm this character, and I'm telling you the truth. It's an underground thing that not many people know, but now you do.
Well, and a big tip-off is comments are disabled for most of his videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's where people would prove him wrong.
So, yeah, you know that's usually where people are bullshitting. Or they just maybe have been doing this for years and are sick of fucking responding to comments.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's probably more likely, I
the
think.
truth is so important that the comments are just going to be a diversion, and you really should just listen to what he says because it is the truth, and it's been proven. It's been proven over and over and over again.
It has.
This experiment,
They call that
that
the
experiment.
Shut up and listen to
The
him.
division line between atmosphere and space. It's not outer space, it's inner space. That's why the bottom end of auroras are 100 kilometers.
See?
Because it's just hitting the glass.
Do you see?
It's just like if you're touching one of those plasma balls
See?
or electron beams from a CRT tube hitting glass and causing it to glow. That's why the bottom end of auroras are at 100 kilometers. There's also a thing called upper atmospheric lightning. They call them sprites. Well, at the top of these sprites, it pans out.
Do you see now?
I really like what this guy's talking about, and I'd love to entertain it. I wish he had some visual, way
Oh, there
of telling-
is. There is. His videos are just like an hour long. We can't do it right now.
No.
But
Well, I'll
you should look
into
into
this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Christ is a trip. He's cool. He's got like fucking 300 videos out.
Yeah, he's
What's
got a lot
this
of ideas.
experiment that he mentioned?
Well, it's just gives an example of how light behaves with interference. So they take two beams of light and put them in a closed track, and watch the way they phase each other. But I don't know enough about light to understand why it's significant. They undergo, on the return point of entry, the two light beams are allowed to exit the ring and undergo interference. The relative phases of the two exiting beams, and thus the position of the interference fringes, are shifted according to the angular velocity of the apparatus. So I think it illustrates how light can be manipulated when...
Time.
Sorry.
That was creepy.
That was creepy.
Just a little warning. We're almost at the end.
Yeah, I think it's just one step of proving that light can easily be manipulated via an apparatus in ways not really detectable to the human eye.
Yeah, which is important because
Here's
light is
my
everything.
Extemporaneous attempt to explain
Here's a
to you
visual
the
for you.
inverted world.
right, so he draws
inverted world.
Oh, he's writing out inverted world.
That's helpful.
This is the true
INVERTEDWORLD.
nature of the
All in caps.
universe.
He's underlining it in a fucking weird spots.
Some of it, yeah.
Means Earth as you know it, as you've learned to understand Earth, even from a little
Just writing the
toddler
world
in
Earth.
grammar school.
I mean, the word Earth.
This is like the
Taught
YouTube
wrong.
tutorials that I hate.
I don't know. I really
Although
like
in
stuff like
the
this.
way
All right, there you
in
go.
which
Now he's showing
I'm
me.
sorry, I'm not trying to put it
more
down.
popular version of the
just
hollow
want him to
Earth
get to it.
theory is Earth is a shell. It's just a shell. Okay? It's not solid and it's just a shell.
See, so he's got a guy
Shell,
standing
I'm not
inside
sure
a
the thickness,
circle,
but
basically.
it's not very thick, I would imagine. Because firstly, man has not even drilled more than 10 miles beneath the surface of the Earth.
Andrew, can you find out if that's true?
Do you know that?
Deepest
And yet
hole
they can
ever drilled.
speculate.
Can't they
All
measure
their
deeper than that,
so-called
though?
knowledge of the
Well, sonically.
Sonically, yeah.
is all based on speculation.
Hmm.
That
I don't know. Can they though?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know anything on this show. Everything is wild
We're not
speculation.
scientists.
So there, he's drawn a circle there.
He's using a rare earth
We're making
magnet
another diagram
to
here.
draw that circle. Oh wait, no, that's wrong
That.
tape.
What an idiot! I tried to get this guy on the show so we could make fun of him. Actually, not totally make fun of him, but kind of fuck with him a little bit because he's a little wacky. But
universe.
this shit is very interesting. Why are there so many people out there that are really dedicated to these various theories that the Earth is not a globe? Like, there's so many. If you put together all the alternative Earth theory people, they share a lot of evidence. So, say you put them together based on that they share a ton of evidence that the Earth is not a globe. There is a lot of people out there that believe this.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I found the Flat Earth Society while I was reading about the Flat Earth, which is a society that you can gain membership to. That
You didn't know about them?
Well, I'm just using it as an example. You can actually join, pay dues, get a
No, I know,
certificate.
yeah.
You know,
they were like big in the news a lot years ago, but they are supposedly, from what people on YouTube say, they're like the kind of the fucking the stooges that make the whole movement look stupid, you know?
Right.
Oh.
They're
Yeah.
like the plants, you know?
Yeah, they're the
They're just
distraction.
they're a sex cult.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just a sex cult. So the deepest hole ever drilled is 40,230 feet. It's only 9 inches wide, though.
Okay, but is that more or less than 10 miles?
It's less.
Do the math, Vinny.
What is it?
Yeah.
Oh, because it's... All right, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's less than 10 miles. I'm sorry. I should have broken it down that way for you. But so that's true, and the crust is supposed to be up to 25 miles thick. So until we can drill 3 times deeper, we'll never know if there's something else on the other side of the crust, or we can just guess.
It's pretty thick,
Which is what
I
we've
would
done so far.
imagine.
Yeah.
I would imagine, yeah.
But see, in the hollow Earth theory, that would be fine still because, you know, they say that it's hollow after like the mantle, or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I like the hollow Earth
Hollow
theory.
Earth theory is holding up for me still.
It's my favorite one so far.
Yeah.
How does it fit into the physics of the flat Earth?
Well, it's like the opposite, so it doesn't.
Right. Well, okay.
What do you mean?
You mean like the evidence that a flat Earth person would use? How could you use that same evidence to support the hollow Earth theory?
No, I just mean like earlier how I was saying, well, if the Earth is round, these things and these things and these things, are those similar? I was thinking about going up on something high to see a further distance, and if you think about it, it would still work if we were on the inside of something concave instead of something on the outside.
I don't know about that going up high to see further thing there, because there really aren't that many opportunities that you have that like either terrain or objects don't get in your way while you're standing at ground level. Because if you think about it, when you're like at the ocean, can you see any less distance than you can climbing up on a tower in your own town? You know what I mean?
Like
You
when
get
you're
like
at
a
the
high
shore.
up view and you're like, oh wow, I can see like forever down the valley or whatever. But like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you stand on the beach, can you see just as far, or no? Do you think?
See, the perception to me is that you can see further if you're higher up, but comparing it is so difficult because I don't actually know how far away what I'm looking at is.
It seems like it would just increase the range of what you're seeing in the distant fog. You know what I mean? Like the higher up you get, the greater that range of foggy stuff becomes. But it's not like you're seeing, your ability to see is any better when you're higher up or anything. At least at a shoreline.
No, I know, but she's saying you can see further along the Earth's curvature the higher up you are.
Yeah. Well, just like as a boat disappears over
I'm
the
just trying to go
horizon.
back to the Earth being flat for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, imagine a right triangle, and what is it, the hypotenuse?
That's the long side.
That's the long side. So if you're higher up, you, in reality, if you're looking at the same
If
point,
the
you
Earth
are
is
looking
round.
further.
If the Earth is round.
Well, even if it's flat, the
Not.
distance that you're looking is further.
I don't think so. I think that if it's flat, that just means that you can only see a certain distance, and you'd see it flat or high up the same way.
I don't know about that. I think I can see further. High up.
No, I'm just talking about if the Earth was flat.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about if it's round.
I know.
So
That's what I said.
you're probably right
With the
about
flat,
that. If it's
with
flat,
the flat model, it wouldn't matter how high up you went.
Right, exactly. You
See
would
the
just
same
see as far
distance
as
no
you
matter
could
what.
see.
Yeah.
And why would human eyeballs even evolve to the point where they can see further than the curve of the Earth? That would be so rare to see that. Shouldn't our eyes just like die out when the Earth curves away?
Yeah, why wouldn't it just look like a never-ending plane?
All right, well.
So now you guys are seeing it, right? Earth might be flat, right?
Yeah, and it also might be concave because it being, like I said, it
Could
being
be hollow.
concave works with the idea of going somewhere higher to see further because it would be the same thing, just inverted. Why can't you see everything? No, I think I'm more on the flat Earth train than the concave Earth train at this point.
I'm way more on the Earth is round and you're walking on the surface of a round thing, and that there might be a hollow inside that is habitable.
And habited by others?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get the flat thing
I
or
just
the
believe
concave
them all
thing
at
all.
once a little bit.
Yeah. It's good to keep an open mind.
Well, now, and if we're in some like weird like changing reality, like we talked about earlier, maybe it is all of them. Maybe that's why there's like evidence that works out for all of them, is because for certain people there are different Earths.
Yeah,
What do
and
you
it's
think
about
about that?
perception.
Yeah.
For me, the hollow Earth theory is supported by the explanation of extraterrestrials being actual terrestrial beings that are from another dimension or from another location on Earth, rather than traveling from a distant galaxy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the explanation for how aliens come around and everything.
Hollow Earth
is
makes
what
a
I
lot more
use to
sense for you.
support the hollow Earth theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, when you go up in an airplane, I just feel like I see the curvature of the Earth, and I know it's fucking round. Like, to me, like, I don't and if there's some mind trick or some illusion and it's actually concave or flat, and there's some explanation for why I perceive it as round when I'm actually up in the air and stuff, then I'd love to hear it. But like, nothing's really convinced me to not believe my eyes,
Well, let's keep looking into this. Maybe do a little bit more on Sunday.
Well, we've been following this thread for a long time. I don't think this shape of the Earth is going to go away for us.
Yeah. All right, is that it for tonight?
That's all I got.
David Box, anything?
That's all I got.
Mac Ear's thing is tomorrow
Go Mac Ear.
in Pilsen, right?
Pilsen.
Do you remember what it was called? Pilsen. Fuck. Look at Mac Ear Art on
Mac
Facebook.
Ear Art on Facebook.
And he'll be posting it. He's in Pilsen in Chicago tomorrow. Got a whole art show going on, so go check him out. We'll be broadcasting here with Lorenzo's Tractor.
Ooh.
My buddies who are coming into town. And we're just going to have a little party. We're going to do a little recording, a little fucking around, a little talk show, whatever. So
Fun.
tune in tomorrow night and support Mac Gear at Mac Gear Art on Facebook. David Box, Andrea, thanks a lot for the
thank
memories. We'll see you Sunday or tomorrow. Fuck you.